Дивіться, Подолін планує. І цей другий панель. Онлайн включення. Другі панелі. Тоді це пауза. Так, всі якісь нюанси. На А. Добре. Друзі, ви прекрасні, але я буду просити вас займати місця, і ми будемо починати.
Dear
Повертайтеся, будь ласка.
friends, you're amazing, but I will kindly ask you to take your seats in the hall because we're about to start our event.
Шановні друзі, шановні
Dear
колеги,
friends,
займайте, будь
dear
ласка,
colleagues,
свої місця.
please take your
Особливо
seats in the
Житомирська
hall.
область, проходьте.
Zhytomyr region, please come in.
Нарешті до залу.
Finally.
Добре. Ми потім
Hello,
продовжимо
everyone.
фотосесію.
Later, you will have a chance to continue your photo shoot.
Проходьте, будь ласка.
Please come in,
Розташовуйтесь,
take your seats.
так, аби всім було зручно.
Make sure that you feel comfortable.
Шановні друзі,
So, dear friends,
я радо вітаю всіх
I'm happy to
учасників
welcome
форуму про
the
mental
participants
health.
of Pro Mental Health
Власне,
Forum.
всіх, хто
So
разом
I happily welcome
тримається
everyone
на тлі
who
цих
stands strong
викликів,
together
а усіх тих,
despite all
хто
the challenges we are
створює
facing.
кожен з нас окремо, ми
Everyone
всі разом
who creates
стійку країну,
the sustainable
стійку громаду
country, everyone individually
і
and all of us
спільноту
together.
стійких
We create
особистостей.
sustainable
Ми тут будемо
society and
багато
sustainable
сьогодні говорити
community of
і
strong
спробуємо
personalities.
зрозуміти, з чого,
We
власне,
will talk a lot
складається
about this topic today,
це
and
явище.
we will try to
І,
understand
власне,
what stands
як нам
behind
разом
this
витримати цей
incredible
марафон
phenomenon
війни,
and
закінчення
how we
якого
can
поки що не
sustain
відомо,
this
коли
marathon
відбудеться.
of war together,
Для відкриття форуму я
the
хочу
end of
запросити
which is
на цю
now beyond
сцену
our sight.
Томаша
And
Горбовського,
now I would like to
директора з
welcome
питань
Tomasz
партнерства фонду, проходьте, будь ласка,
Dombrovskis.
Міжнародної
Please
солідарності,
come in, the
Fund of Solidarity,
International Solidarity
фонд.
Fund
Прошу, ви
Director.
можете брати мікрофон.
Please
І
take your
Петра
seats.
Лукасєвича,
And Piotr
будь ласка,
Lukasiewicz,
тимчасово повірений
Charge the
у
Affairs
справах Республіки
of
Польща
the
в Україні.
Republic of Poland
Піднімайтеся
in
до нас.
Ukraine. Please come to our stage.
Будь ласка.
Please.
Друзі, ви можете
Dear
звернутися до
friends,
учасників форуму.
now
Прошу, пане
I'll
Томаше,
give floor to
будь
you for
ласка,
your
все
opening
працює.
remarks. Please, Mr. Tomasz, the floor is
Дякую.
yours.
Вибачте, я буду читати, тому
Thank
що
you so much.
хочу
I'll be
сказати
reading
українською мовою,
because I want to talk in Ukrainian,
але це буде складно, якщо говорити
but
з
it
голови.
will be a bit challenging for me.
Мені, шановні пані та панове,
Dear ladies and
амбасадори,
gentlemen,
мені дуже приємно привітати
I'm
від
really
імені
pleased
Фонду
to
міжнародної
welcome all of you on
солідарності,
behalf of the
представників уряду,
International Solidarity
органів
Fund.
місцевого
I welcome
самоврядування,
representatives of the
ветеранської
government,
спільноти та всіх
local
осіб.
authorities, veteran
Щиро
communities, and
дякую за
all
вашу
other guests.
присутність.
Thank you so much
Ми
for
вже
your presence
вдруге
here at this hall.
збираємося,
It's the second
щоб
time we come
обговорити
together
надзвичайно важливу
to
тему
discuss incredibly
підтримку
important
осіб,
topic. I'm
постраждалих
talking
від
about
війни,
support of individuals
особливо ветеранів та
affected by
їхніх сімей на
war,
місцевому
especially
рівні.
veterans and their family members
Саме
at local
громади
level.
є тими осередками,
Communities
де переживають
are
люди,
a
які
kind of
захищають
hub
Україну.
where
Вкрай
people
важливо,
defending Ukraine
щоб
live.
захисники
So it's
поверталися
very
до своїх
important
громад,
to make sure that our
які були
defenders come
готовими
back to their
відповідати їхнім
communities,
потребам
and these
і
communities are ready
підтримувати
to
їх,
meet their needs
щоб
and offer the
позаштовхнути
necessary
бойових
support
дій
So when they're back from frontline, veterans could actually actualize, self-actualize. It's also about preparation of community, hosting community residents to properly receive their hero. So I'm talking about building trauma-sensitive society, which respectfully treats the defenders. Let me emphasize that support of communities has always been, is, and will be the focus of Polish International Solidarity Fund. It's something very important for us. The activities at the local level allow us to come closer to people. In its turn, it allows us to achieve very specific changes with with visible impact. Since 2018, the International Solidarity Fund implements projects focused on development of civil defense and social services in communities. In 2023, since 2023, I'm sorry, they also continue to support the local level in implementation of the pro-mental health model, which is psychosocial support of individuals affected by the war, because right now it's an urgent need in Ukraine. As a fund and as your Polish partner, we are always willing to help our neighbors from Ukraine, and this help must rely on partnership. And the partnership is a very important principle of our work. All our solutions are developed and implemented in partnership with communities, regional and national authorities, and in strict compliance with the governmental programs. And this is the idea behind the development aid. We want to be as close as possible to our people and build partnerships. We provide the support on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Poland and other donors. The pro-mental health model is not just about mental health and veterans' needs, and also the veterans are the key focus of our project. This model is about general psychosocial support. It's a It's a multifaceted component which involves various areas of lines and various stakeholders. It's applicable to everyone because all Ukrainian men and women without exception are affected by the traumatizing events of war. It's very important to understand these challenges, to be able to respond to them and comfort ourselves and learn how to support others. We have to build trauma-sensitive and trauma-informed society. And this forum, this venue, is an amazing chance for us to come together around mental health care and psychosocial education topic, including development of psychological resilience, both at the individual and at the collective level. On behalf of our foundation, I sincerely appreciate this opportunity and your openness to dialogue. And let me express a very special gratitude to the Ministry of Veteran Affairs, the Ministry of Social Policy, and the government of Ukraine. Without your help, your advice, and your openness, this event would be impossible. Similarly to our activities, I'm also sincerely grateful to our donors who support implementation of our initiatives, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Poland, the European Commission, with whom we cooperated to pilot our pro-mental health project in Rivne region, and the Department of State of the United States of America, which supported implementation of the pro-mental health model in Zhytomyr region. I'm also grateful to the fund's team, to our partners, and I hope for fruitful cooperation. Thank you so much.
Дякуємо, пане Томаше. Спасибі.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tomasz. Mr. Piotr, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Dziękuję bardzo za... Mogę mówić po polsku, tak? Tak.
Будь ласка.
Dziękuję. Dziękuję bardzo za zaproszenie na to forum, organizatorom, Ministerstwu Spraw Weteranów, Fundacji Solidarności Międzynarodowej, za to, że robicie to, co robicie w terenie i za to, co robicie no, w sprawach
And
publicznych.
thank you so much for
tego
what
rodzaju,
you're doing in public area when you
chciałbym
organize
powiedzieć
meetings
kilka
of this
kluczowych
type.
słów.
I would like to
Ciągle robimy
highlight,
za mało
well, I just want to,
dla
I
ludzi,
would like to use
którzy
just a few words.
zrobili
Everything
najwięcej
we do
dla
is
kraju,
not
swojego
enough
kraju,
for
którego
people
bronili,
who are
dla
doing the
weteranów,
most
dla żołnierzy,
important things for
dla tych,
the countries they defend, for veterans, for
tych, którzy
soldiers,
przeżywają
military servicemen,
względnie
everyone who's affected by
bezskutku, ale
this
przede wszystkim
war.
dla tych, którzy w wyniku tej wojny tracą zdrowie,
Of course,
em,
and
ponoszą
especially
koszty
those whose health was affected on the
z
battlefield.
powodu tego, co się dzieje
These people
na
carry
froncie,
this
wciąż robimy
burden.
za mało.
They and their
I
families,
ci ludzie,
they
którym
are
staramy się
affected by
pomagać,
everything happening on the
żołnierze,
battlefield, and we're not
cywile,
doing enough for them.
policjanci,
People we try to
ale też
support soldiers, civilians,
uchodźcy,
police officers,
oni
and
już
of course,
ponieśli zwycięstwo
Ukrainian military.
broniąc Ukrainy. To jest niezwykle wielkie
They are
zwycięstwo
victorious in
i
defending
ratując
Ukraine. They have
naszą Ukrainę
already
przez ostatnie
won the
10
victory.
lat,
They have saved Ukraine and they
3 lata
continue to do it. They have protected the
wielkie
country for the
zwycięstwo.
last 10 years,
Jest jeszcze jedno
including
zwycięstwo.
3 years of the full scale
Musimy im
invasion.
pomóc.
There is a great victory, and even
Zwycięstwo
greater victory
polegające
is
na
waiting ahead,
tym,
and everyone can
dostać się z
contribute to
Ukrainy
it.
nad Rosję, którą
After Ukraine
zgłębowali.
prevails over Russia on a
Oni wrócą do
battlefield,
swoich
which I
ról
truly believe
społecznych
will happen,
w
these
gromadach,
people will return to their social roles
w
within
życiu
their
publicznym, w
communities,
NGO-sach, w instytucjach
in
właściwych,
public administration,
tam
in
gdzie
government,
będą
in social
potrzebowani
life,
wówczas
in non-governmental
pozostali cywilni lub
organizations, in the
pokorni.
military, in police,
Ich zwycięstwem będzie
and
ta
they
nowa
will
służba
continue their service after
z
victorious peace.
wykorzystaniem wszystkich
It's
możliwości,
their very
z
own personal
wykorzystaniem
victory. They will
zwycięstwa
serve
będzie jeszcze
Ukraine
przed nimi,
and they will
a my
use
musimy im w tym
all
pomóc.
the capabilities they have as human beings.
Wiem,
This
że
victory is still waiting ahead, and we must support them in this. But we're
polegających
still
na
not
połączeniu
doing enough.
Ukrainy
I know that there are
z
many
centrum
projects
Majdana
and
i się stolicą.
initiatives in the area
Oczywiście
of supporting
Państwo
Ukraine,
tutaj
such as creation of
jesteście
veteran hubs.
bezpośrednio zaangażowani, wiecie jak ciężka jest Wasza
But
praca,
you
jak
are in
dużo
the best
wysiłku
position
wkładacie
to
w
know
to,
it. You are
żeby
deeply engaged and
dobrze
involved, and you know how difficult this
zorganizować,
job
ale
is
wciąż
and how many efforts you
trzeba
need to
zrobić
pay
jeszcze
in
więcej.
order to organize this kind
To,
of
co
veteran
jest
support. But it's still
naszym
not enough.
priorytetem,
We still have to do
w
more.
fundacji Solidarności Międzynarodowej,
Our
w
priority
FSM-u,
and the
w
priority
Kijowie,
of International Solidarity Fund in Kyiv
kieruję ambasadą, chcę powiedzieć również o naszej ambasadzie, o naszej obecności.
is as well as the embassy because I actually lead the embassy.
Wspólnie pomóc
So our
zbudować
priority
system pomocy weteranom.
is to support
System,
building
nie pojedynczą
veteran support
działalność,
system in
nie
Ukraine.
nie jedno
A
centrum, nie
system, let me highlight this word,
pojedyncze
not just a
ośrodki
separate
finansujące się
project, not just a separate hospital
psychosocjalnie na
center,
przykład, ale
not
system,
just one organization
system
dealing with mental health
władzowy,
support,
niezależny
but
od
entire service of assistance services.
przede wszystkim Ministerstwo
And we will
Zdrowia, który
support
wydaje
Ukrainian
się
government
będzie funkcjonował już
in doing
dalej.
so. We will continue assisting the Ministry of Veterans Affairs and Ukrainian government in implementation of the system. So the
To bardzo
systems
skomplikowane zadanie,
continues to operate
ale
after victorious
nawet
peace.
będąc tutaj
This
zaledwie
task is
3
extremely
miesiące w
challenging.
Ukrainie,
And
uważam, że powinniśmy
after
mieć
spending
świadomość
3 months here in
tego, że te
Ukraine,
działania
I deeply
Państwa,
believe that it's
działania
our
ambasady,
common
działania
goal
FSM-u, działania wielu
because
organizacji,
your
działania
actions, your initiatives, initiatives by embassies, by International Solidarity Fund,
model
projects
FSM-u
implemented by other organizations must
z
be
sukcesem realizowany
systematized.
na
We
poziomie
need to recreate this model, use a consistent model. You can use a model already piloted by the International Solidarity Fund at the local and regional level. This model will be recreated in various areas, and that's how we will achieve scale-up effect. This is the largest challenge we are facing now. And in addressing this challenge, Poland will, will take the leadership in implementation of this task, in achieving this objective, We will support Ukraine as a government, including we will support the representatives of Ukrainian organizations in creating this system to make sure that these veterans, soldiers, servicemen who prevail on the battlefield in the fight against Russia can also prevail in their further civilian life, so they continue serving the country for the sake of which they paid such a high cost. Please stay at this stage if you don't mind, because now we're about to have another very significant event. And for this purpose, I kindly invite Mr. Andrei Palko to the stage. Mr. Andrei, please come here. He's a senior tactical medic of the Territorial Defense Brigade, Separate Battalion 64, Policia Wolves, Territorial Defense Force of Ukraine. And I also invite to the stage Pavel Kost, Head of International Solidarity Fund, Representative Office in Ukraine. Mr. Pavel, please, you're welcome. And Mr. Andrei, just a second, I will hold the microphone for you. I want to hear. Hello, everyone. My name is Andrei Opalko. I represent Brigade 104, Battalion 64, Policia Wolves. I'm sincerely grateful to Mr. Ambassador, and I have a gift for him. And I'm grateful to Mr. Kost for the work you're doing. I'm not a veteran, I'm active military serviceman, but still, thank you so, so much for the work you're doing. These are our Policia Wolf flags. Could you please unwrap them, because I cannot do it myself. It's for you. It's a gift. I am proud of my battalion. I'm proud of my men. This is our flag. And the signature is mine. I'm a senior tactical medic. It's for you. Similarly, Mr. Kost, I have a gift for you as well. Policia Wolf flag. That's for you. That's one for you.
Ось так.
Like this. Mr. Ambassador, I also have something else. Could you please bring this gift to the stage? It's a gift on behalf of myself and behalf of Life Center. We have a mayor of my Sarny city here and the head of Life Center, Ms. Skolovets. It's a Santa Maria ship which Columb used to open a new world. So I wish you new discoveries. I personally restored this ship with my own bare hand.
Bardzo dziękuję za w polskiej kulturze powojennej widnieje jest takie
Thank you so much. In Polish post-war culture, there is a word Columbus. Poles remember Polish Columbuses. We had this book, Columns During the War. It was about young men who fought against German occupation. So this game is very symbolic because you're just like them. You're young people who discover new Ukraine, who build new Ukraine, create new Ukraine. This gift is very symbolic and I highly appreciate it. And this flag, I will unwrap this flag at the embassy and hang it after a victory. It's a great honor for me to have it because this flag is a symbol of everything we're doing today. It's about military rank, it's about heroic behavior, it's about heroic fits and heroic names on this flag are a great honor for me. I accept this flag as the greatest honor. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And dear friends, you can put the ship here for a while. Please don't go away, stay with us. So I feel like Today, since we mentioned military service, since we mentioned courage and bravery, and we have Police Wolf flags at this stage, I think it's a good occasion for us to remember all those, mention all those thanks to whom we can be here, work together, and cherish our plans for the future. Cherish our plan for return and civilian reintegration of our brave soldiers and peaceful life of the entire country. Now I want to announce the minute of silence to commemorate the memory of fallen defenders of the Ukraine. Please.
Дякую, друзі.
Thank you so much, dear friends. So now our forum is officially open. Thank you so much, Mr. Tomasz and Mr. Piotr, Mr. Andrei. And now I kindly ask our dear guests to take their seats in the hall. And now we will start with our discussion rounds. And as you see, sustainable community, strong economy, psychosocial rehabilitation of veterans and victims of war in Ukraine. This is the topic of our today's discussion. And our first panel discussion is about the opportunities we have today in Ukraine to create psychosocial rehabilitation services. And for this panel, I once again kindly invite Mr. Pavel Kosts, the head of the Representation Office of the International Solidarity Foundation in Ukraine. I also invite Ms. Irina Makichak, the Project Development Director at the Coordination Center for the Mental Health of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine, advisor to the Prime Minister of Ukraine. We also have Ms. Oksana Sulema. Please join us. She is the Deputy Director General for Social Service Development, the head of expert group on social service provision system at the Ministry of Social Policy of Ukraine. We also invite Mr. Matthew Johnson, please, the First Secretary of the United States Embassy on Stabilization. And joining us online, we also have Mr. Taras Tarasenko, Member of Parliament of Ukraine, but he will join us a little bit later. And before we start our discussion, I have a few housekeeping announcements for you. Please pay attention that we have simultaneous interpretation service. You please feel free to take your headsets if you need interpretation. And please pay attention that right now we are at the underground level, so basically we're in a bomb shelter, and if a red alarm is triggered, we can keep our seats. We don't need to go anywhere. And another housekeeping moment. Every person in the hall will be able to join discussion. We will have moderators in our hall. Please show yourself. Ladies with microphones. Just make sure that you're visible to everyone. So, dear colleagues, you can think about your questions and feedback, and you will have a chance to join in discussion. And just bring attention of our moderators. They will approach you, give you a microphone, and you will be able to ask your questions. And let's proceed with our panel discussion. Mr. Pavel, let's start with you. Could you please tell me what are some of the psychosocial support models
про mental health.
offered
В чому
by
вони полягають і
Pro
чим
Mental
вважаєте
Health
ефективними
model.
і чому
So what do they
Укрпошту має
offer?
працювати?
And
Доброго
why
дня
do you
всім.
think they're efficient? Hello, everyone.
Дякую, що ви є.
Thank you so much for
Цю
being
ситуацію
here.
складну
Even
попри те,
despite
що
this challenging situation
графік напружений в усіх,
and despite your very
надзвичайно
tight
вдячний, що ви
schedule,
є.
I sincerely appreciate your
Зокрема,
presence,
наші дорогі ветерани.
including
Це вкрай
our dear
важливо,
veterans.
ви
It's very
приходите на ці
important that you
зустрічі
have joined this event
і
today.
підтримуєте насправді нас.
It's very important
Ми
that you
намагаємося
support
підтримувати
us in
наші
supporting
ветеранів.
you.
Я коротенько намагатимуся не
I'll be
забрати
brief.
багато вашого
I'll
часу.
try to not to take
Розкажу
too much of
про
your time, but let me
хребет,
just
про
briefly share,
рамки
tell you about the
цього
backbone
цієї
and
моделі
framework
нашої,
of
так, про
this
mental
model,
health,
Pro
яку ми
Mental Health,
реалізуємо уже не перший рік
which we have
в Рівненській
implemented for
області.
several years
І
in
з
Rivne
цього
region.
року почали
And
реалізовувати в
this year
Житомирській
we have
області.
started implementation in
І
Zhytomyr
так, навіщо
region.
ми це робимо?
So why are we doing it?
Перша стратегічна наша мета – це
First of all, our
посилити
strategic objective is
стійкість
to reinforce
ветеранів
the
і
resilience of
інших
veterans and
осіб,
their families and
які
other people
постраждали,
uh,
на жаль, ще постраждають
who have
від війни.
suffered and will suffer from the
Якщо
war.
спробувати перекласти це на
If
такий
we
більш
name this
поточну мову,
in
можна
a more
сказати,
basic
що
language,
ветеран
I would
це
say
наша
this is
невеличка
our brick,
частинка
a little
до
brick
тієї
for
перемоги, про яку
the
згадував
victory,
пан посол щойно.
as discussed
Тобто
by
ми вважаємо,
Mr.
що
Ambassador. We
стійкість
believe
населення – це саме одна із запорук
resilience of the public is one of the prerequisites of the victory over the enemy, who does not stop its
брудних справ.
dirty activities. Due to the strategic objectives, we have identified a number of objectives, which will not be a surprise to you. I believe that in this room, everybody is interested of this topic. Not for the first month, even not for the first year. And this is not a surprise for anyone, yet we would like to improve the access to MHPSS. I mean, psychological, physical culture and sports rehabilitation, social adaptation, legal aid, also social support.
І навіть починаємо роботу в одному з центрів
Even we start the work in one of the centers of MHPSS for their professional orientation,
друга ціль – це
career planning. Another objective is to improve quality of such services. It's not a secret because at the local level, especially finding good specialists is not easy. And accordingly, we do our best to focus more attention on quality. And finally, improvement of the awareness of the public and also the government agencies responsible for providing such services about stigmatization and mental health, first of all.
Контекст, я тут теж довго не буду зупинятися, він всім
The
відомий.
context of it is well known to everyone. It's the only thing, the challenges that we have, which are key from our perspective, is a lack of access to highly qualified social support, in particular, and especially this is noticeable at the local level, because we all know in Kyiv and Oblast centers, the services are available more or less, and yet those who are in smaller cities stay or simply visit them due to various circumstances may get convinced that it's not the best situation and the availability of such services is very limited. The high level of stigmatization, as it was discussed before, I will not return to it, a lack of comprehensive approach towards MHPSS. We believe that beneficiaries of such support is important to receive such support in one place, a one-stop shop, not to visit different locations, that the entire information can be obtained in one place from one window, from a single window. Also, insufficient coordination in service provision at the local level, as Tomasz discussed before. Our foundation in the field of decentralization has been involved for a long time, and we have observed that for more than 1 year, and yet cooperation of all players who are involved in service provision on the local level must be more intense, more well coordinated. This is one of our tasks and challenges we would like to cope with. We are discussing this model and support actually in the operational dimension. It means creation of centers, of providing psychosocial support on the local level. By the example of Zhytomyr Oblast, we can say we have 4 centers of this kind, because the districts in the Rivne Oblast are also 4. And the stages of creating them are divided into 4 stages. The preparatory stage, and there are several points. I would focus on 3. Everything begins as a consultations at the local level. Here we involve a request the Ministry of Veterans, the Ministry of Social Policy for support, the well-known experts, as like Irina Mikityak, who is present with us, and we are grateful for all of the consultations provided to us, and will provide in the future. Also, we give advice on the regional level, because the oblast level is very important. And in this place, I would like to mention the director of Kyiv Hospital of Veterans, Mr. Burachik, who from the very beginning was very supportive of us with his knowledge and experience and advice of the right solutions, of the right decisions. The second one is mapping of resources present in the oblast. We look which organizations are present, which resources, including human and technical, can be expected. Also, additionally, we communicate with the oblast level, with the colleagues of oblast state administrations, oblast military administrations, non-government organizations, to have an approximate understanding of the situation in the oblast. The next step, which is very important, is needs assessment that we do by a sociological survey. The sociology survey, as a result of such survey, must demonstrate the direction of which services must be in demand, and based on such a survey, we launch the relevant services. And finally, our know-how is working of rayon coordination groups, district coordination groups. What does it mean? On such principles of participation, the community which are interested, the centers are created in their territories, communicate with each other in the rayon, and they decide jointly which location is most acceptable, most adequate for the center to be placed. This is very important, maybe most important for the success of the entire model, is that such a community from the very beginning has to understand that the foundation will stop the support sooner or later within this model. And this support will need to be supported by the community. Will need to be provided by the community. The second thing is launching the center, which is a combination of 2 components. First of all, the hardware, I mean financial support for adaptation of premises, renovation of premises, procurement of equipment, procurement of the vehicle, which will then the team of specialists can use to provide services also in remote locations, not only in the central places, in the as outpatient clinic services. We combine it with a soft one, which is training for the future specialists, and also management of such centers. The third stage is information campaign. The objective of it is promotion, convincing the local players, not just local, also regional,
Це мають бути майданчики, де
that
перетинаються
those must be the
межі
sites
соціального життя
where
з
the sphere of social life overlaps with medical and
І,
psychological.
власне, з таким підходом ідемо до
With this
неурядових
approach, we go to the non-government organization and local authorities
центрів зайнятості,
like employment
школи,
centers,
тому що без
police,
синергії
schools.
всіх цих
With no
органів
synergy
неможливо
of
всіх
all those
за одного
agencies,
розібрати.
we cannot even list them at once.
Тільки синергія є
Only by synergy that we can achieve the success of functioning of such centers.
Розбудова центрів – це коли вже проходить певний час роботи, послуги
Uh,
надаються.
After certain time of work, the services are being provided, we analyze, we receive the feedback from the centers and from the beneficiaries of the services. It's so important for us. It was an important moment as we exchanged with Andrei, our opinions with Andrei of whether we need to do it.
Я заспокоююся, тому що почув
Now I feel more easy because I receive good feedback that it's worthwhile doing. And for such moments, we are actually working. Therefore, it's very important. Yet, if the feedback advises of some things to be adjusted, we also do it. And finally, as you may see on the slide, in parallel,
весь час присутнім етапом
the
для
entire
цих чотирьох є діалог і адвокація. Тут мається на увазі
the stage which is present all the time is dialogue and advocacy. I mean, the consultations with the ministry, the experts, with the regional level.
Також ми ділимося
And also, we share the analytics and the results of the work of our centers with the ministry with the hope
це допоможе, це буде
that this will help and this will be a contribution of the foundation and the centers into the development of the state programs and the government policy in this field.
Про самі послуги. Ви їх можете прочитати, я не буду озвучувати усіх, але, можливо, так синтетично скажу, що був список,
Also, I would like to tell you that there was a list that we have formulated as a result of the needs assessment as the main one, psychological information, consultations, and the advice of the social worker, specialists in social work. We're happy that the communities also expand and the centers also expand the range of services that include legal aid, physical culture and sports, rehabilitation, career development consultations in the town of Dubno. Also, I would like to underline that physical culture and sport and legal rehabilitation are the features that we feel on the basis of the feedback received from the centers that they must be, they have to be. We cannot say they are mandatory. For the future centers that we shall create in Zhytomyr Oblast. However, we shall persistently encourage that this service is also present.
Напевне, скажу теж про труднощі.
Also, I will discuss the difficulties.
Сарненський центр має
A Sarne-based center provides or very soon will renew providing the psychiatry assistance. This is very important. Now it was recovered. You're welcome. It was now it is being provided. Yet it was not easy to find a good specialist to provide psychiatry support on the local level. This is just a great achievement. We did not cope with that, frankly speaking. Now we are working on the referral system to the relevant specialized institutions, and maybe this is a way out from the situation. The target audience, this is the key slide. As I discussed before, the veterans, and we shall keep discussing them. From our perspective, it's for the sake of the veterans and their families, the families of those who have died in the war. We are doing this work jointly with the centers. Currently, the percentage of beneficiaries of this support goes from 40%. As a big percent are civilians who are also interested in such services and receive them on a regular basis. And the state services for the internal security. I would like to focus on it because it was a surprise. The percentage is small, and yet, in our understanding, police, state emergency service are not eager to refer for psychological support. It was a revelation that there are the examples of regular continuous
Навіть через
support,
їхню ініціативу. Тут, напевно,
even from the
Роман,
initiative. Most
з
probably Roman
Володимирця зможе розказати
from
більше, тому що
Volodymyrets
наскільки
can
пам'ятаю,
discuss it
саме
more.
там
As I remember,
ця система працює
there the
особливо
system operates
інтенсивно.
especially intensively.
І маємо такий слайд ще,
And we have also the
оскільки ми
slide,
чудово розуміємо, що
as we understand
розказувати
quite
про нього
well,
чи
that
зрозуміти
telling about or
суть
understanding
нашої моделі дуже
the
складно.
point, the
Поки ти
core of our
не
model is not easy unless you go and unless you communicate in the field with the centers and specialists and first of all the beneficiaries of such
Ми для
services.
себе визначили
We have determined for ourselves a few features. What this model is about, first of all, about sustainability and stability of functioning. What do I mean? As I discussed before, and yet I'm not tired to repeat, that the communities must understand from the beginning that our model is when our financing will finish, the centers will operate anyway.
Ми вважаємо, що краще цю роботу виконувати повільно.
It's better to do this work slowly,
Максимум зусиль
to make maximum efforts,
мали час на
so the communities
на підготовку до сталої
have
роботи.
have enough time to prepare for sustainable work and independent work from external financing, and yet it's worthwhile doing it with a focus on the long-term work and long-term functioning with no support of the donor.
Це наша думка.
At the same time, and this is our opinion in the foundation, maybe it does not coincide with the opinion of other colleagues, and yet we believe that the central government, the central authorities would be good if they propose effective and convenient mechanism, which is difficult even from the bureaucratic reasons, to launch such programs that will help to receive some of the funds for functioning of such centers, or at least the compensation for receiving such services. And this begins to happen. Have the resolution 1338 in that on the basis of which our centers with a difficulty because this process is not well set up. We have the examples about stability and the Ministry of Social Policy. We have the hope for it. The Ministry of Veterans assures us that this resolution will be improved, will be finalized, and we hope that we shall have the capabilities of supporting the center will expand. The wide range of services in line with the needs, I discussed it before. I would like to discuss once again that it's of paramount importance that the services are formulated is clear relevance to the needs. We check the needs and then we launch the service. It's not something in our head. Actually, available services on the local level, and this is quite basic. And
Висока якість послуг – це нескромно з нашого боку, але ми вирішили це саме так назвати. Велику роль приділяємо до того, щоб фахівці, які працюють у центрах, проходили максимально...
The specialists who work for the centers must undergo the training, and also they come with relevant and serious background of the work, with the experience, and we have such examples. Finally, ecosystem of the ties of the regional institutions. This is cooperation with all institutions at the local level about exchange of information. That when children come to the center, then the school and the school psychologists must know it, and the system of referrals on the local level when there are more complex example like Kyiv hospitals where when we need to refer people, refer the persons who require such support, or vice versa. And finally, not to take much of your time, I would like to discuss our plan.
тестуємо з 23-го.
We are testing and we are completing the testing in Rivne, and the next it will be present on Rivne. That's for sure. That will be the last year, and we are not confident it will not take. We cannot. It cannot take that long. We started in Zhytomyr. Our first impressions are fully positive. I would like to thank for openness to Oblast state administrations. We communicate with colleagues from the regional level, and we began to do the sociology service. We understand quite well. If we just focus on two oblasts, it will not be that effective. We have the plan that we have at least 4 new regions. And finally, about the veterans, I would like to underline that on the basis, first, the feedback from the center, and the feedback from the veterans, and thirdly, the feedback from the Ministry for Veterans. The colleagues who are the experts with us, Mr. Taras Tarasenko will be present. I would like to thank him for the numerous consultations. We understand quite well that we need to reinforce the work in the field of support of veterans and their families, and this will be a priority. Thank you for attention. I would like to thank all the donors as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Poland for trust, that they trusted us, and for having it as a priority. I would like to thank Mr. Ambassador for his kind support. I would allow myself to say that Piotr is a great proponent of your veterans' activities, who is a sincere professional supporter. I would like to thank the U.S. Embassy for the support for enabling the work in Zhytomyr Oblast. I hope that the reach of this cooperation is expanded, and also to the European Commission that this project became possible in 2023. Thank you, Pavel, for this interesting discussion. Indeed, people applaud, and so we need to appreciate all of the foundation and also all of the participants. Yet it's better to see it with our own eyes, and we have a video. Maybe some people can recognize themselves, and then we shall continue the discussion.
У відповідь на стрімке зростання потреб народу України у наданні психосоціальних послуг,
supporting the needs for MHPSS, we created the project. We organized 4 centers of psychological support in 4 districts of Rivne Oblast. First centers of MHPSS in Dubno, Zdolbuniv, Volodymyrets, and Tsarny communities of Rivne Oblast. Pro Mental Health is about the centers for support and the beneficiaries of MHPSS, first of all about the people who have worked on development of the model of providing the services, and the communities whom we have jointly held the diagnostics of each district of Rivne Oblast and determined the locations for creating the centers for psychosocial support. Receiving support free of charge is available to everyone, including the military servicemen, their families, and the families of the military who have died in the war. Also, the civilians who have experienced traumatic experience as a result of the war. In all centers, there is professional multidisciplinary team consisting of psychiatrists and 3 psychologists. The services are provided as outpatient clinic, also in the mobile way. The team may visit remote municipalities. Rivne Oblast Hospital, so War Veterans, has the honor to be a partner in this project. Our task and our responsibility in this project is training of psychologists and psychiatrists and further cooperation with the purpose of providing better services to our defendants for the sociological and mental support. All the centers have received the vehicles and financial support to create and develop their institutions.
Принципи нашого фонду
The
побудовані
principles of our foundation are built in such a way that every time it's based on the needs of the partner. We have cooperated, communicated fruitfully with the veteran hospital in the town of Kyiv and Rivne Oblast, also the communities, the partners whom we worked with also on other directions, and we have convinced the donor and European Commission and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Poland that it is worthwhile that here in Rivne Oblast to implement this project. As a result of sociology survey held by the project Pro Mental Health, 59% of residents of Rivne Oblast are in the depressed condition or was a depression. Like in the previous survey, the residents feel fatigue, anxiety, and tension. For the first months of activity of the team of the center, 3,000 individual and group consultations were held, presentation meetings in particular, more than 2,000 hours of psychological and psychiatric services. The support was provided to the wide circle of persons who have been negatively affected by Russia-Ukrainian war. The potential of the activity is predicted 4 to 5 million persons who will receive support from their aligned ministries. The forum makes the interim final result, which will then develop the final results, which will be part of the manual, and the manual will be the algorithm, which by the results of our project, Pro Mental Health, must give the instruction for the action to every community which is interested to repeat our way to create similar centers. This pilot project is one of the largest scale in the Rivne Oblast. Similar centers of psychosocial sociological support is also needed in other regions. The experience of pro-mental health is intended to simplify for communities the procedure to create them and to help Ukrainian society to overcome psychological consequences of the war.
Пані Ірино, хотіла попросити зараз
Irina, now I would like to request you
вас приєднатися до
to
розмови.
join this
І,
discussion
чесно, переглянувши цифри, які ми
by
всі
looking at the numbers that we have all
навіть
seen.
трошки розгублена
Even,
завдання, які стоять
I am
перед
upset by
Фактично,
the
завдяки
scale of the
своїй
tasks
осаді.
that you are
Ви
facing.
одна з головних
Due to your
відповідальних
position,
представників
you
для українців.
are
Хочу
one of the persons responsible for the mental health of Ukrainians.
За що ви збираєтесь в першу
So
чергу
my question is obvious.
пріоритетно
What is a priority to your mind? What will you focus your efforts at in order to take care of the psychological condition of the nation? To what extent, by your feeling, this is urgent right now, not after the war, because we don't see the finish line or the date of the end of the war. Right now, in order to overcome this depressed condition, and the data of which we already have, which programs do you propose, and how do you assess the effectiveness of the models of pro-mental health? To what extent do you cooperate with them?
Thank you, Ms. Anna. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and respected representatives of our fraternal countries, thanks to which we stand here today. We fight the enemy, and especially the United States of America and the Republic of Poland. We highly appreciate and value this contribution for our governments, and especially in the MHPSS area. Probably I wouldn't call myself the main person in charge because you cannot fight here alone. I am just a representative of a coordination center for mental health under the cabinet of ministers of Ukraine. Our coordination service is responsible for the all Ukrainian mental health program initiated by the First Lady of Ukraine, Olena Zelenska. During your opening remarks, you mentioned that we have fought this war for over 11 years, including over 1,000 days of active hot phase. Probably we're one of the few countries in the world dealing with this tremendous load, because modern war is quite different from what we experienced during the World War I and World War II. And we all know that this marathon is very exhausting, it's very challenging, and the objective of our country is to prevail in it and to preserve our statehood and to achieve full, total, and fair victory. It's also very important to direct as much investments as possible into boosting the resilience of our society. And the very foundational task of the All Ukrainian Mental Health Program is fostering resilience, individual resilience, collective resilience. And you've probably already heard about it from the First Lady, who declared this objective. Individual resilience means the national resilience. And the president of Ukraine also gives a very powerful mentions about resilience of Ukrainians. But this resilience is definitely impossible without preserving our mental health. We won't be able to ensure comprehensive national resilience true for each and every one of us. I'll try to be very brief and quick. So now I will briefly tell you about all Ukrainian mental health program and the responsibilities of our coordination center. In particular, we can talk a lot about plan, but we already have some achievements to share. So when the All Ukrainian program was launched, and by the way, our center was created in March 2023, just a little over a year ago. However, the program itself was launched in June 2022, and there are several key objectives. First of all, is to coordinate all governmental bodies, agencies, and social institutions to build psychosocial support services, because our legacy from the Soviet Union is a very poor approach. We don't have mental health, we have only psychiatric care. It's heavily stigmatized, and people used to believe that mental health is about medicine, hospitals, and psychiatrists. So our key objective is ensure coordination between governmental agencies, social institutions, and communities to build mental health support services which are of high quality, and to train qualified professionals available in various areas to provide this support, so anyone can seek professional help in the areas they need it the most and when they need it the most. Therefore, all Ukrainian mental health program is focused on building this human-centered environment, community-centered environment. And our key core task is to make sure that people have access to professional support services, counseling services, and make sure that the services are available at different levels. First of all, we have central executive governmental policy making agencies. And the purpose of all Ukrainian program is to make sure that each ministry, as a policy making body in a specific area, has a special mental health component. It's extremely difficult challenge. You know, I'm a person who have worked for 3 years as a deputy minister of health during COVID and war. And let me reassure you that our governmental machine is very heavy, it's very bureaucratic and very complicated and sophisticated. And it's not just Ukrainian issue. I think it's true for all developed countries in the world. We need to have frameworks, action plans, steps, etc. But nevertheless, in absolute majorities of our ministries, in 11 ministries. We have created top priority projects in the MHPSS area. I will briefly describe them. But every ministry have a special deputy minister responsible for MHPSS. This enabled us to create a community of like-minded people in a government. We have Interdepartmental Coordination Council on Mental Health, co-led by the Deputy Head of Ukraine Presidential Office, Verena Vereshchuk, and the Minister of Health, Mr. Lashko. And it's a governmental venue attended by the Prime Minister and by the First Lady, which enables us to develop and generate various governmental solutions, which actually enable us to do what Mr. Pavlo mentioned, to create the state guarantees for services, programs, and projects born in the communities. At the community level, some of our top priority projects today in healthcare area include the network of healthcare providers and primary healthcare institutions. We have around 100,000 of them who are properly trained and certified by the World Health Organization. This program is called MHCAP, and it means that primary healthcare providers are now able to provide high quality and competent assistance to people seeking help for mental health disorders at the primary level. This is the largest network in Ukraine. It's trusted by the public. I mean, most people trust primary healthcare institutions. And if doctors and nurses before the war had been never trained in mental health, right now we have over 1,000 institutions contracted by the National Healthcare Service, and they receive government guaranteed funding to provide free of charge help for population. Also in the healthcare area, we are building a network of outpatient institutions. We call them mental health centers. We already have some pilot projects, and they will provide specialized psychiatric care to people referred by the primary physicians. So it's a specialized level of care. Once again, it's government guaranteed. Once again, they receive secure funding from the National Health Service of Ukraine. And after January 1st, our polyclinic units, cluster and supercluster hospitals will receive this funding, provided they're eligible to go and according to governmental requirements. They will be able to apply to this funding through the National Health Service. Now let's talk about sustainability. It's very important because, as our colleagues mentioned, projects come and go. Of course, they come in, they contribute to development of our country, but one day they will exit. It's a natural order of things. We really hope that the victory will come soon, really as soon as possible. And then we obviously understand that the donor support will decrease, and we will decrease our dependence on donor funds. But in order to train professionals and engage as much people as possible, project activities are not enough. So this is the reason why we integrate psychosocial support training, professional training program into our medical university curricula. We already have several pilot projects at several academic establishments. And now let's take a look at the Ministry of Social Policy. You mentioned Resilience Center, which operate in Ukrainian regions. We already have over 200 of them in communities, and I'm really proud to admit that this project was initiated by the All Ukrainian Mental Health Program, including our coordination center. We developed the Resilience Center concept. There was a lot of debate in governmental offices with our many colleagues from the Ministry of Social Policy. We wanted the service to be high quality, easy to understand, and easy to access. So it's not just funding we allocate to something. This funding, it's unprecedented situation in the history of Ukraine when funding is given to NGOs. And me and my colleague from coordination centers visited few of them, and now we see how amazing this service are. Basically, the government is supporting to foster community proactive approach. We want to make sure that this is a community-led support. We promote communication between people, and we boost support for our veterans, their family members, as the family members of former prisoners of war, their children. Now every community can be proactive in their initiatives, and it's a very informal level of mental health support when you don't yet need a psychologist or psychiatrist. But still, we can easily and softly identify a need and further refer people who need support. We closely cooperate with the Ministry of Veteran Affairs as well. I won't take too much time from my colleagues, but it's also a very important responsibility of the Ministry of Veteran Affairs. And we really like the new, fresh and proactive team of the ministry. And the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Interior. What's the Ministry of Interior has to do with the psychosocial support, you may think. But actually, right now, this ministry has a very powerful psychological service, both for their own officers and for first responders, as they provide first psychological aid. I mean, the State Emergency Service. They intervene in any crisis situation related to combat operations affecting civilians, as well as other emergencies happening in our area, because the war doesn't mean that we don't have any crises and emergencies in our country. They also facilitate a lot of training as part of the mentor tutor program. This program is also run by the Ministry of Interior. Then, Ministry of Culture. It's another component, very important component. And right now, at libraries, at theaters, and at other culture institutions, even at art schools, they run many projects and initiatives related to mental health. Recently, in cooperation with the Ministry of Education and Science, we launched the Happiness Classes program. Historically, our culture has been, said we don't teach our children how to be happy. But last week we visited the school in Ivano-Frankivsk and we attended these happiness classes. And now I feel really envious for these kids because in my childhood I never had a chance to participate in something inspiring like this. There was an amazing team, but it requires a lot of work with educators and psychologists. Now, communities and regional administrations, regional military administrations and communities are crucial to create this momentum in the government. So we are proud by the fact that right now at our regional administrations we have very powerful people, deputy heads of regional administrations, who are also responsible for mental health component. We have Mrs. Stapchenko from Zhytomyr, first deputy, and you already mentioned your amazing connections. And we're really happy that we have a community of such civil servants, such leaders who don't perceive mental health as something formal, but understand that it's a vital need of people. We feel really supported, and thanks to this, we are enabled to develop many amazing projects in regions and communities. We have regional coordinators in every oblast. This is the reason why our project is efficient at the regional level, and many NGOs and donors now also have regional coordinators as points of contact in the MHPSS area. Irina Gladka, Anna Velichko from Odessa are present here in this room. We have around 150 community consultants who are supported by the Coordination Center for Mental Health and the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine. These are the people who directly work in communities, work in field to organize and facilitate various activities and services related to MHPSS. We also have another very important component. It's education and training. I'm not going to overload you with the figures, although our figures are quite impressive. But in cooperation with international donors, and we have quite quite a lot of them, we have already conducted a huge number of various training sessions uh, uh, based on evidence-based approaches. World Health Organization's program to train healthcare professionals, social workers, security officers, and professionals on veteran affairs. And we especially focus on building our peer-to-peer trainings when people with combat experience, with actual battlefield experience, people with knowledge and skills, work in communities with other people returning from a battlefield. So basically, the veterans provide support for veterans. And right now at Kyiv National University, a special training program has been already launched. This program is focused on peer-to-peer training. We also use trauma-informed approach. This approach must run through our society because basically we all carry this collective trauma of war, and we must remember about it when we communicate with each other, talk to our colleagues, talk to our employees. We must be able to welcome veterans at home and avoid re-traumatization in the process. It's super important. We must educate our children to be grateful, and we must feel patriotic. We must feel this dignity because all this promotes mental health. Scientific research are extremely important part of the mental health support program. Unfortunately, right now in Ukraine, we have some issues with the scientific research in general and in this area in particular, but we have already taken some of the first steps when, along with our partners from the World Health Organizations and from Lancet Commissions, we have already published some articles. This is a very high-level peer-reviewed journal which describes the Ukrainian efforts. We are not a trial ground, but we are a country with unique experience we share with the world, and we develop new recommendations described in this public. I already mentioned NGOs, but I want to reiterate and read it again. It's a very important component of work of our coordination centers, regional administrations, and communities because NGOs, civil society organizations, and international partners are here to fill the very acute needs emerging during the very first months and years of war when the war government was yet unable to build its system. We move together, we work together, and along with professional scientific community, we develop new services. And here I must highlight your attention to our cooperation with the project bringing us together today, Pro-Mental Health Project, I mean, and partnership. This partnership is truly important. Of course, this project does not cover the entire Ukraine, and unfortunately, we have only a few such projects and, not, and every few donor with a national-wide coverage. But still, it's very important that you enable that you empower our communities, you promote social coherence and unity, and you share professional knowledge and competence. Of course, we are always willing to support such efforts. So development of MHPSS centers and communities in partnership with the government in terms of funding empowers our communities and open new opportunities for them. It's amazing that you have entered the Zhytomyr region. We discussed it back at the planning stage because Zhytomyr region is not, is not really is not among the most popular regions for partners and NGOs, but those who work there know how powerful team we have there and how powerful communities in Zhytomyr region are. We actually mentioned it during our forum a few weeks ago, and particular Overage community. So similar to Rivne region, Zhytomyr region is also capable to build very high quality workflows to further support Ukrainian population. Of course, when the donor support as the donor support expands, the project will also go to other regions. And for our coordination center we represent, it's very important to make sure that donor resources are direct to the areas where we have capacity. It's very important to strengthen existing institutions in Ukraine and to strengthen our existing experience. Because right now we're dealing with a situation where financial resource of donors is scattered all around the country. And some people may think that they're doing something unique, that's the first unique project, but it's not so. We have very high quality guidelines developed by Pro-Mental Health Project in particular, and that's how we can scale up this system and this area even more and more. Interaction and coordination I mentioned are a unique achievement of our country. We dealt with multiple challenges. We had so many gaps and stigma in the mental health area at the beginning of the war. This work is ongoing. This work is really challenging. It requires so many psychoeducational reports facilitated by our coordination center. And I kindly invite project team and community representatives to use the resources generated by the coordination center with the support of the USAID and other international partners. These are very high quality products which are publicly available at the coordination center's portal, How Are You program, You can simply Google these three simple words and you will get access to the website. You will find the self-help kits, the veteran guides, various communicational advices and tips which are much needed by our people right now because the lack of socialization, lack of access for information about various services sometimes affects the corresponding program. And wrapping up my speech, I want to again highlight that it's very important for us in Ukraine to regulate many of the existing activities. And unfortunately, we don't yet have a well-attuned professional certification system. Sometimes we cannot trust people, really trust people who call themselves psychologists. They call themselves psychologists, but actually they try to read your fortune on your palm. It's very important because the most important principle of our work is do not harm. And our coordination center has actively supported ministries in developing the National Mental Health Plan adopted by the government in June 2024. This is a plan for 2024-2025, and each region is very proactive in developing its regional plan. So right now we do have this roadmap for operations, and donors can be guided by the government set priorities. We, even back before this plan, we have also developed an evidence-based scientific and psychosocial support model, MHPSS model for Ukraine. It's a great common achievement because it's evidence-based. And it's also very important to note that along with the Parliamentary Committee on Public Health and Medical Insurance, we have developed a draft law of Ukraine. It's a comprehensive law on the mental health system. It's one of the first laws like this in the European Union, and it's appreciated by international partners and experts. This draft law is already passed in first reading, and right now we have national consultations. Some of these consultations are ran through Mental Health Forum, and we hope that still in 2024 we will have this Euro integration law on the mental health system in Ukraine, which will really regulate many various things related to the mental health system to further strengthen our capacity. Therefore, our coordination center highly appreciates the work done by our partners, by our by this Ukrainian Polish American project. And this is the kind of activity that enables us to further boost the resilience and sustainability of our communities and citizens. Thank you so much for your cooperation, and we hope to make it even more powerful and stronger. And I also want to use this opportunity to express my gratitude to the Polish government, the Polish nation, American nation, for their huge contribution into our victory, for standing with Ukraine, because your efforts are very important both for our military, so our armed forces and the air defense can stand on the battlefield. But we also appreciate your tremendous contribution to sustainable and resilience of Ukrainian community in humanitarian and social areas, because no victory is possible without resilience and without strong economy and without trust in our victory. Thank you so much. We highly appreciate it. Thank you so much, Ms. Irina. So comprehensive, systematic, and very compassionate approach. This is something I have heard when you were talking, and we will continue this conversation with Ms. Natalia a bit later. But now, Ms. Oksana, I want to invite you to join. So often mental health support projects we're discussing right now are concentrated, are focused on veterans, veteran family members, IDPs, and let me generalize a little bit, people affected by the Russian aggression against Ukraine. So basically, the key focus of attention are vulnerable populations. And I have a very simple, but maybe not really simple question for you. Tell me, please, what do you think? Is Ukrainian government today capable to support vulnerable populations, in particular in terms of mental health support? How can you do it? And what kind of support do you need? The floor is yours. Thank you so much, Ms. Anna, Hello, dear colleagues. Ms. Irina has already mentioned some of the topics about social support system. Pavel was also talking about resilience. And if you take a look at the Ministry of Social Policy and at the social protection system, then yes, indeed, we continue to build our mental health support system. And the key focus of our today's discussion is on social service exactly. Why? Because sometimes some benefits or financial material aids can make a person self-sustainable, independent, economically independent, and able to shape their future as an individual. And the same extrapolates to the whole country, to the whole recovery process in the future. So right now we need to talk about social services, and our professionals, people who work with people in the field, know for sure that these people have mostly lost their faith and trust. These people have lost the trust in everything. They don't trust anyone, including themselves. They don't trust government. They don't trust other people around. Sometimes they feel helpless. Sometimes they feel confused. They have experienced terrible losses. So, most social services, of course, include this mental health component because without mental health support and recovery, without understanding the underlying cause of issues and looking for solutions to move on, without actually realizing the existence of this problem, without engagement in all processes, nothing would be possible. And these things are impossible without MHPSS. So most of our social services always include the psychological component. However, today we are reviewing the entire system. We're trying to change our focus and in particular focus on the ongoing challenges brought upon by the full-scale invasion of the Russian Federation into Ukraine. And as Ms. Irina mentioned, I think the entire Ukrainian population is in need of professional help right now. So this new service, comprehensive service on resilience building, is first of all designed for all population, all community members. Not just when people struggling with challenging life circumstances, a typical client of any social service, but here we're talking about every person, every citizen of Ukraine. We had a round of very challenging debate and discussions. We explored international legislations. We had consultation with various countries, ones affected by hostilities and who have experience of post-war recovery. We developed the model of our services, and we actually think we're moving in the right directions. We developed the model of our service to be as inclusive as possible. We want people to be included in social life, and we want to promote social community cohesion. We want to build this individual resilience to boost the social unity and cohesion in the community, to make sure the community is strong. And that's how eventually we can build a strong rear, because uh, our defenders on the front line, on the battlefield, definitely needs this support. We are sincerely grateful for them for being able to live on and sit here today in this hall. So our strong and coherent rear is much needed for post-war recovery of our country as well. This is the reason why this social cohesion is one of the top priorities. Then MHPSS support for each individual, engagement and coordination of civil society activities, volunteering initiatives are also a part of this comprehensive resilience building service. And of course, through all these initiatives and projects, we want to restore and boost human capital of our communities to ensure their future development. Therefore, when we implement resilience building service, the cooperation, participation, and engagement component is of utmost importance for us. On the one hand, we have government was funding the service itself. On the other hand, we have communities who desperately need these services, and they need to realize it. They need to support their population, they need to promote cohesion and mobilize their resources. So this understanding of communities is important, and participation of communities, such as allocation of office rooms and funding these office rooms, is a chance to be engaged in a project. On the other hand, we already mentioned our service providers, NGOs, community non-profit organizations also engage in this process of service provision as direct service providers, and they supervise their staff. And by actively organizing this work in terms of service provision, they also contribute to successful implementation of services in their community. Today, at the legislative level, we have a directive of the Cabinet of Ministers which establishes this procedure, how to participate in a pilot project, what are some of the eligibility requirements for communities and for direct social service providers. Moreover, recently, on November 26, the government decided to continue the experimental project for the next year. Basically, this project will continue, and the funding of our organizations participating in this project today will be continued.
In the budget, there is money for this, and the relevant decisions are available. So, what is included into the service to form the resilience? This is, as we said before, MHPSS, and here we have a team of specialists, social worker, social manager, social worker, and the psychologist. And as we discussed before, this is the first link. When via soft solutions, one can find problems in people. And resilience is not to replace the system which is today in the community. This is an addition to it. Of the resources of what is in the community, social workers that support families in difficult life conditions, social workers that provide for the services of people at home. And this is important that people understand that this is the additional resource, that one can build the system of social services in the most affordable way. We speak of the assessment, early detection, so psychosocial support, the ability to form the groups of self-support, and those groups can be of different topics, because for the veterans, those can be one topic, and for the families that educate children with disabilities, there is another topic. Important component is development of parental competences. This will be about all of the families, including the families, the veterans' families, when they have to recover the relations, improve the relations, understand each other as they return back from the front line. Of the volunteers initiatives, I have discussed it before, and the important component is also training and education. We call that specialists of the first line, those people who work directly, those specialists who work directly with people. Also training in the field of self-support, plus how to help oneself, how to plan a person whom you work with, and transfer the knowledge. And this is important. We provide training via resilience. This could be also for by the employees of education, also the officials, the officers of local governments, because in the same way they contact people as they receive this, as the citizens, as they organize the activities. And this is important because via such transfer of knowledge and skills, indeed, they form the resilience, our resilience informed. Also, in the same way, we focus great attention on training of teams that provide services of resilience, all kinds of training, different topics. I mentioned also self-support. Another topic is parenthood with no stress, first psychological support. and also how to provide comprehensive resilience support, how to work at the case management algorithm, because here, in addition to group and individual work for service provision, as it was discussed before, when some problem is identified, more complex problem is identified, then the redirection of people. Actually, they must focus which services do exist in the community and which specialists exist in the community. They must have a contact with all services. The understanding of where to redirect. Actually, our project began in October 2023, and really in the real practice we started to work in January 2023 when first specialists came to communities, and now in 23 regions there are centers of resilience, providing the comprehensive service of forming the resilience. For that, 43 territorial communities have been selected. Those communities that have agreed and provided the premises in order to participate in this experiment. 175 providers already provide the services, and accordingly they receive the financing from the state budget for their work. Another 10 operate out of the contest with their own funds or at the expense of the donor funds. Such a format is also possible. We have trained more than 800 specialists, and today, striking the interim balance of the work, more than 800,000 people in a particular way have received the service of resilience in the format of group work or in the format of individual work with every person. In the project also Zhytomyr and Rivne Oblast participate, and the Rivne Oblast during the last selection of communities there were quite many communities who have agreed to participate. Today in Rivne Oblast, they select 31 communities who are ready to work. Practically, 9 providers are working, and yet the selection of providers is still going on. Therefore, I hope that from next year, the providers will start providing service in all of the selected communities. 12 communities in Zhytomyr Oblast who participate, and also 9 providers have started the work. Therefore, this work is really large scale, and indeed it's of great importance for the entire community in general and for their cohesion. Another service I would like to discuss, in addition to resilience, is social adaptation of veteran service. We have reformatted and remodeled this service, and today it has the format of 2-stage work. The first stage is a weekly program, which is implemented by the team, a multidisciplinary team, which includes the medical workers, also psychologists. And this weekly program is implemented by rehabilitation institutions. They are focused on veterans and families to stabilize friendly family relations, psychologically stabilize the veteran and his family members. After that, the veteran with the family comes back to the community, and here it is important, it is of paramount importance that in the community this work is continued in order to fix all those achievements that one could achieve over the week. Actually, over this week, a lot of changes take place in the relations in the family of the veterans. Indeed, this is the way it works. In this case, we are looking for this particular program, we are looking for the partners that we can help implementing at least this first stage, because it requires the on-site activity is not easy. We managed to work in Vinnytsia, Cherkasy, Khmelnytsky Oblast, and we have worked in the Oblast via the service of social adaptation was received by more than 1,000 veterans and their families. This is briefly of what the ministry is doing in the context of psychosocial support. In the same manner, I would like to thank the Foundation for many years of cooperation and for the support of our community, because as you said before, understanding of the need, understanding of what is happening in the community, and also planning of the work is of great importance for the further work and formation of the system of building the affordable social services and the development of social services in the community. Also combination and cooperation and the understanding of the leadership of communities, the officers of local governments with non-government providers, that's also important. And generally, unification around of veterans of all services, as we discussed before, specialists for support of veterans, providers of social services, medical services, and developing the topic of resilience. We have another resolution which involves creating the centers of resilience as a social space, as social spaces. This is a place where they might concentrate and provide all kinds of services for people. Those could be remote jobs for the Center of Legal Support, remote jobs of the Employment Center, that for people is comfortable to go to the center and solve all their matters, but understandably the matters that they have via a number of consultations. Thank you very much indeed. This was a brief discussion, and of course it's not possible to cover everything, and yet I have an impression, especially in the context of resilience. We all, and each of us personally, are currently and will continue to be in the complex process of transformation, which will require changes from all of us, changes in the management level and legislative level. We have, as I hope, if Taras is in touch with us, we can now communicate and discuss what was developed in this direction by members of parliament. Taras, Mr. Tarasenko, a member of parliament of 9th convocation, member of the Committee of the Parliament for Social Policy and Protection of Rights of Veterans. Mr. Taras is with us. Is everything okay? Yes, indeed. So, legislative innovations, to your mind, are unnecessary, or you have developed them? For the last 1.5 years, half a year, to keep the mental health of the nation, providing the necessary set of psychosocial support, in particular to veterans and members of their families, and others who fell victim to Russia's aggression against Ukraine. Good morning. I would like to answer this question over some time. Now I would like to share my impression from the previous speeches. I have some sound delay. I apologize if it will be some delay. First of all, I met Pro-Mental Health 1 year ago. When I met them, actually, we took our projects of social support of the population, and on the very first meeting, they coincided 99%. And this is a great professionalism of mental health. I am watching how the centers are working in the Rivne Oblast. How do they make the analytics? Indeed, this is a great work. And how they carry out, and mental health actually provided high-quality recruiting. And nowadays, The problems have emerged. Not all of the communities can provide for the proper level of payment of specialists with no donor support, and the quality of services created the conditions where people went to those centers, and yet the burden is growing in such a way that the community cannot bear the situation of supporting such centers. This must be reconciled with the government level and the government budget in order to finance such centers if they demonstrate quality, that we can scale them up. This is also the question to the Ministry of Social Policy and the Ministry for Veterans, because we need to unify the policies and budgets, because as I have heard, the Ministry of Social Policy is going to open the centers of resilience as separate social spaces. In the state budget, 500 million is provided, and now we can expand the financing for the veteran centers, yet the functionalities of those centers is the same. We don't need every ministry to build their own centers. Indeed, we need to reconciliate the policies. It's important, I believe, that pro-mental health can be scaled up to take the standards of service provision and to take the analytics they already performed and to roll this out throughout the country. There are also centers throughout the country supported by NGOs, and we can also use their positive practices to make sure that in every community, indeed, or in every district, at least on the first stage, we have such a policy. The second thing I would like to focus at, it's a country we need to define, and now we tell the truth, we began to tell the truth. What is the status of our mental health? That the entire country requires recovery, and that we need to improve the level of awareness about the trauma and psychological trauma of the country and the consequences for the entire population. Therefore, it's important that we hear the opinion of the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Culture, because regretfully we must state that we won't have enough psychologists for the entire country, that we can to everyone provide a support and also provide social support to every who requires this. Therefore, more on cultural and educational level, we need to make changes that we as people become more tolerant to each other and we provide strong support to each other, because otherwise, regretfully, in the society, we shall have big problems with communications and mutual understanding unless we do it. Also, I would like to note that separately we need to fine-tune the processes of referral. Currently, as I operate on the personal relations, if the employees are social workers are active, most often it does not happen, yet we did not develop the protocols and scripts for referrals as a government policy. And the most complex cases like alcohol addiction and drug addiction, yet we need to develop standards for rehabilitation of people addicted to alcohol, narcotic drugs, and gambling. It's a challenge for the next year. It must be accelerated because nowadays quite many fighters who return back even for vacations, as it was discussed by the Ministry of Social Policy of Social Adaptation, they don't go to psychologists. And unless anyone supports them out of their peers, regretfully, they fall asleep thanks to alcohol, because otherwise they cannot fall asleep. And this is a big challenge to our country, and we need to work on it and to change this. About the legislative initiatives have been developed. We have developed the draft legislation on the veterans entrepreneurship, that the defenders will create businesses of their own, and this will be a milestone of recovery, because they will receive a new objective for the development, and that objective may partially replace the objective that they had in the front line. Also, as currently there is a war, that challenge is also shifted to support of the peers. When the veteran creates a business, they spend their profit for donations and to produce the drones. They keep supporting the army, which is cool, because activity of the veterans goes beyond the scale. They're well motivated, especially if they are involved in business, and this would support the veteran, his family, and finally support the community. Therefore, we need to inform the community that veterans' business is a superb investment component for every community. Generally, if we keep speaking of the legal framework, now we review the draft legislation on the principles of the internal veteran policy. I invite everyone who is interested to join us. So one of the articles that will define the main principles of building the veterans policy of development in Ukraine. Regretfully, beforehand, we did not have such policy in Ukraine. As I know, the Ministry of Veterans developed the draft legislation about the veterans policy. Now it is being cross-approved by the line ministries, and we expect the final version that we can start the public discussion. I believe this is important to have high-quality public discussion that everybody understands how we can build the veterans policy. Also, we have voted the draft law on the mental health. And by the way, this will be quite an important milestone that it works in the country, because quite many senses have changed in the mental health, and yet the old legislation remains old. However, we need the new rules for the functioning in our country of the support of mental health. Therefore, 100% I support the draft legislation on mental health. I believe it can be approved and scaled up, and the Ministry of Social Policy must give its proposals to the Ministry of Veterans to make sure that we carry out a single role and we don't have the overlap and delimitation between different standards of service provision. As representatives of the state, we must use the same human principles and not to delimit the financing, which is limited in the country, nor the principle of service provision. I believe this will be more efficient at the level of every community, and also makes it possible to efficiently use the specialists, the number of whom is also limited.
Спасибі, пане Тарасе, дякуємо. Я особисто вам від себе хочу подякувати.
Thank you, Taras.
Підняли тему
I would like
травмоінформованого
to thank you to raising the topic of the society which is aware of the trauma. We discuss that a lot in the media. This is important for each of us, and this is how we shall move. On our own, with the help of the state and international donors. Thank you. I would like you to join the conversation. I believe it's important for us to understand how do you define the point of making the effort. What, to your mind, the efforts of international donors must be focused at? And why did you choose for support the project for mental health, in particular in Zhytomyr Oblast? What are the considerations and what are the criteria? And by your feeling, whether your criteria coincide with local demand?
All right, I get to take my earpiece off, and I get to watch all of you put your earpieces in. So first of all, thank you for the question. And I do want to take the opportunity to say it's an honor to be a partner with those we work with on mental health in the government of Ukraine, with the Polish government, and with the Polish Solidarity Fund. We look to support programs like this. I do think it's vital that we've heard from other people to my left and to my right, and Taras as well, who are more expert than I am about the importance of the great need that we have in mental health. And I think when we look at the international donor community, representing here from the U.S. Embassy, I work primarily in veteran mental health care, but understand it is broader than that. I think what we see need. I think what we're seeing is something, I think there was a question earlier, is government Ukraine prepared to put everything that's facing it. And I'm like, no, because
Так,
nobody
так, і ми
will.
стикаємося.
I don't know how anyone could be
Я
prepared
знаю,
for
що
the
всі
mental
мають
health
бути
challenges that
підготовлені.
would be at this scale. And I think that's why the
Отже,
international donor community
міжнародні
is
донори.
looking to work and support Ukraine in this effort, because I don't think it's reasonable to have expected any government to be prepared to provide such a large percentage of its population with that sort of support. As far as how we have been looking, how we look specifically to support pro-mental health and work with the Polish Solidarity Fund and others on this, I think, one, we are looking to partner. I think when we have strong partnerships and strong cooperation, that's an area where donors feel like we're all working together. And that's an important area of coordination and cooperation. I think on a second front, we're also looking at why Zhytomyr or why Rivne. We're specifically working in Zhytomyr with the funding that we provided. But I think that's also understanding that one of the great challenges we all face in providing mental health support in Ukraine is that it affects the entire country. There might be certain populations that are particularly vulnerable. I know myself, thinking about veterans, we do have IDPs, maybe children and others, but it's the entire population, and a significant part of that population is rural. And so it's always important to remember, in speaking with donors, that Kyiv is not Ukraine. Ukraine is much larger than just what happens here. And then even when you get to places like Zhytomyr and Rivne, there are hramadas and communities that are much smaller that might not have the mental health resources available. So how do we come to work to support programs like this to ensure that those veterans and their family members who are from very rural communities and other vulnerable populations have access to the kind of support that they need to help overcome some of these mental health challenges? Moving forward, when I think about what we're doing, and I'm thinking specifically about the veteran space, but I think it is this coordination and the efforts that are coming forward now. It is about strategy. I'm a bureaucrat, I'm a diplomat, so yes, I always look at things slightly through that perspective. But I know we have had mention of the reading of the first law on mental health getting through the Rada. I know we also are discussing that I believe right now there is a veteran strategy that was passed by the Cabinet of Ministers last Friday. I believe it is currently sits with President Zelensky. I think these are important frameworks because I think for the international donor community and others, it's important to have a strategy to know, one, what is the situation? Two, what are the realities and the risks that we face? Because there are risks and we have to acknowledge those. What are our goals and objectives? That provides a framework for us to understand and then work together on how do we address this problem moving forward. Once we have that framework, not that it's completely modular where everybody just plugs in a certain area, but it does to an extent allow those like the coordination center and others to know, okay, this group is responsible for this, or this area is working in this area. For donors, it allows us also to coordinate and be like, oh, this is the objective. Oh, Japan has interest in mental health. They're focusing in this area. Let's make sure we don't duplicate. Resources are limited, both within Ukraine and elsewhere. So I think for us, having that strategic framework, for me, has been a significant accomplishment that we've seen over the past year. But now we have to take that framework and we actually have to make it reality. And we actually have to figure out how to implement programming and make it sustainable, as Pavel mentioned. I know whether speaking with Yulia earlier, speaking with Andrei, who I know is here as well, that it's important to have this framework and this plan. And now it's about how do we plug in and support it so that we can make all these things objective, how we obtain these objectives. So I know I was trying to keep my remarks fairly concise because I know I think we might be getting close to time, so I'm conscious of that. But I think that for us and for everybody is important, is the fact that we have a framework and now we know how to plug in, how to take programs like what we see, make sure that we're hitting all parts of Ukraine, that we're not just focused on what's happening in Kyiv, and that we figure out these pilots, what works, how to expand, and how to plug in and coordinate. And in all these things, it's Ukrainian-led. We're here to support, but it's Ukrainian-led. I know people often ask us, well, you're from the United States, how do you deal with PTSD? And I'm like, I'm happy to tell you about all the mistakes we made so you don't have to make them. But we also understand that Ukraine has unique circumstances and it needs to be a Ukrainian-led solution, and we're here to help provide support to that. So with that, I just say thank you.
Ну що ж, у нас дійсно є привід обмінятися досвідом посттравматичних синдромів. Спасибі, пан Митю, але дякую вам за ці
Thank
окреслені.
you for your preparedness to share the experience in the field of PTSD. And yet, I believe that it's important that there are strategic principles that are important for donors to feed their support. Thank you for your great support. Anyway, I would like to thank the speakers, Pavel Kost, head of the representative office of Solidarity Foundation in Ukraine, Oksana Sulima, Deputy General Director of Development of Social Services, a leader of the expert group for development of the system of MHPSS of the Ministry for Social Policy, Matthew Johnson, First Secretary of the Embassy of the United States to Ukraine for Stabilization, Irina Mikichak, Development Director of the Coordination Center for Mental Health of the Cabinet of Ministers to Ukraine, advisor to the Prime Minister of Ukraine. Dear colleagues, thank you much indeed. Currently, we shall make a small break, and at 12:05, we shall move to the matters of practical implementation. From the strategy to practice, 5 minutes break, and we shall continue the discussion. Thank you, friends.
Шановні друзі, я сподіваюся, це не Житомирщина, там так активно спілкуються. Я знову прошу вас усіх. Я розумію, ви не встигли наговоритися, колеги і друзі. Я прошу всіх повертатися. У вас буде трошки більша перерва вже незабаром. Ви зможете поспілкуватися. Ця перерва дуже маленька. Я розумію, але я прошу вас повертатися в зал. Ми продовжимо обговорення. Ми продовжимо роботу форуму. І я прошу вас займати ваші місця в залі. Шановні друзі, будь ласка, повертаємося до роботи. Шановні колеги, всі, хто захопився зараз безпосереднім спілкуванням, давайте повернемося зараз до роботи форуму. Прошу. Повертайтеся до аудиторії, проходьте, і ми будемо продовжувати роботу. Будь ласка, прошу всіх займати свої місця. Прошу всіх сідати і займати свої місця. Друзі, мені насправді дуже подобається, що ви так захоплюєтесь спілкуванням неформальним, тому що, як мінімум, це дуже яскрава ознака того, наскільки важливим і нагальним для вас є тема форуму. Що вона не вигадана, не надумана, це частина вашого реального життя і роботи. Це захоплює.
Okay, dear friends, I'm really inspired by your interest to this forum, and you will have another chance to network. We will have bigger breaks for your networking outside of the discussion panels, but now we have to move on. And our next panel discussion is especially interesting because it's focused on the very specific aspect of implementing this mental health support at the local level. And in this panel, we have people directly responsible for implementation of mental health centers, or will do it in the nearest future. So here we have people who literally create this support network with their own hands. So in this panel, we will have Ms. Natalia Ostapchenko, the first deputy head of Zhytomyr administration, Mr. Roman Shvets, head of the Psychosocial Support District Center, plus Mr. Roman, Mr. Mykola Orlov, the head of the Division of Project Activities, Development and International Cooperation of Zdolbunev Municipal Council of Rivne Oblast, and Mr. Ruslan Serpeninov, Mayor of Sarne of the Rivne Oblast. Please, welcome on stage. And join us online. We also have Mr. Sergei Podolin, First Deputy Director of Rivne Administration. Mr. Sergei, can you hear us? Yes, I can hear you and hear you. So let's start with you, and then we'll continue our conversation in the hall. So could you please outline some of the main stages of this implementation, of how do implement support, mental health support in Rivne region? How do you assess the needs, do the diagnostics, make decisions? So outline some of the key steps. We have enough people who really want to learn more about your experience. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this forum. Hello, Ms. Mekichak. Thank you so much
Вам
for
менше
supporting
втручання.
Rivne region.
Декілька
And
слів
yes,
про
indeed.
нашу
Let
практичну
me
роботу,
briefly
тому
tell you
що
about the
проект
practical dimension of
польський
our work.
проект
Because
програми
Polish
продовжує
project,
співпраці з фондом
Polish
міжнародної
cooperation
солідарності,
project supported
пропонує
by the
приклад
International Solidarity
швидкого
Fund
конкретного
is a perfect example of rapid,
досвіду
specific,
реалізації
concrete,
за
and
участю
practical implementation of
обласної
projects
влади, за участю
involving regional authorities,
самоврядування на
involving
території
local
регіону.
authorities in Rivne
3
region.
березня 23
On
року
March
у нас
3,
був перший онлайн.
2023, we
Ми
had our first
провели
online
спільно з
meeting
головою обласної ради і з представниками
attended by
тергромад
the head
і
of the regional
визначили
council and
напрямки роботи.
representatives of
І уже
communities
на кінець
to
року
determine
наші
the
центри
directions for our
запрацювали.
works.
Центри
And later this
запрацювали
year, the
в
centers were
4
open. The centers
тергромадах.
were launched in 4
Представники
territorial
тергромад
communities.
сьогодні
The
теж присутні на
representatives of these
форумі.
communities
Це
are also attending this
Здолбунівська,
forum
Сарненська,
today in
Володимирецька,
Zdobunів, Sarny,
громади.
Volodymyrets,
І
and Dubna communities.
практичним критеріям початку
And
роботи
the
було
practical
розуміння
criteria for
нами
launching the operation
всіма
was our
учасниками процесу,
understanding, I
що
mean
для того, щоб
bioprocess,
це створити,
understanding of
потрібно в
bioprocess
першу
stakeholders
чергу
of the fact that in order to
людські
do so,
ресурси,
we
які
first of all
потрібні
need
на
human
місцях.
resources.
І
We need
тому,
human resources
коли
in
ми
field.
обирали і
So,
визначали
so when we selected
початкову роботу і
and
початкові
determined
центри,
the
які ми будемо
locations for our
створювати
initial
рівненські,
centers in
ми
Rivne region,
проаналізували
we
громади.
reviewed, we analyzed
Звичайно,
the
є
situation in the
рекомендація
communities.
НКРЕКПа сьогодні вже
And I have a
буде
special
передаватися
recommendation for my
це
colleagues because
Житомирській
now
області.
it's for Rivne
Обов'язково
region
це
to share
повинні
the
бути
experience with Zhytomyr
керівники
region.
тергромад, які
You
розуміють,
definitely
що
need
таке
community
програма
leaders
ментального
who
здоров'я
understand what the
організації
mental
ОЯ,
health program
які
is,
розуміють, що таке ветерани
other
і
than
ветеранська
how are you
політика
by
на місцях,
Zelensky, who understand who
і
veterans
ті,
are
які
and what's
спроможні
veteran
своїми
policy in field,
бюджетами в
and whose
подальшому
budget is, and who have sufficient
підтримувати
budget
людей, які
to
будуть
be able to
працювати в
further
цих
support
центрах.
people
Тому
working in such
аналіз
centers.
був проведений,
So we did the
тергромади
analysis.
залучились,
We engaged
ми
territorial communities.
сформували робочі групи в кожній
We
тергромаді.
developed
Для
work
цього
groups in every
обов'язково
territorial
постійно
communities.
на етапі
And for this
реалізації проекту,
purpose,
як мінімум
during
раз в
project
місяць проводять
implementation stage, at
робочі
least
зустрічі.
once a month, we have working meetings with people
Кроково розбирати
and
весь алгоритм
step
впровадження
by
даного
step
проекту.
follow
І
the stepwise
достатньо
algorithm
таки
for implementation
швидко
of this
проект був
project.
реалізований.
This project
Центри
was
відкриті.
implemented rather
У нас
quickly.
сьогодні
Centers were
послугами
launched.
центра
And
скористувалося
right now,
більше
over
20 тисяч наших громадян, і далі вони
20,000 of our
звертаються.
citizens have
Там
used the
приємна
services of
атмосфера,
our
там
centers. They
є
create welcoming
професійні
environment.
люди, які
They have
приймають
professional
наших громадян.
specialists
У нас є
who receive our
створена
citizens.
прекрасна, я вважаю, за
We have
допомогою
received
наших
amazing, I
партнерів,
believe, with the
матеріальна база,
support of our
яка
partners,
допомагає.
equipment
Область
and
отримала
material
4
base. The
автомобілі,
region
які
has
вже
received 4
потрібні для того,
vehicles,
щоб
which
працювали
are
мобільні
also
бригади
needed
і
to support
виїжджали на
operation of
тергромади.
mobile outreach
Які
team
створені
to
центри,
enable them to
і ті, що
travel to
знаходяться
territorial
поруч.
communities
І
located
в
nearby to the
результаті
communities
роботи
where
сьогодні,
centers are
уже коли
opened.
ми
So
плануємо
today,
наступний
when we're
бюджетний
planning
рік,
our
ми
next,
працюємо
we're
з
building our
тергромадами,
plans
де
for the
ведуться
next
ці
fiscal
проекти.
years.
Також ми
We
добавили
cooperate
ще
with
для
the territorial
тергромад.
communities
І
where
от
projects are ongoing. We
приймаємо
also added a
програми
few
по
more
підтримці
communities.
даних проєктів.
And
Для того
now we
кошти
develop
з бюджетів
support
місцевих
programs for
повинні
this
бути
project.
уже на початку бюджетного
So for this purpose,
формування вкладені.
we allocate and invest budget funds,
Проект діє.
and the
Ще раз
project
хочу,
is effective
думаю,
and
передати слово вже
functional.
практикам нашим
Now
колегам,
I
які
will give a
знаходяться в
floor to
залі.
my colleague,
Хочу
who are more on
ще
the
раз
practical side of
подякувати
things.
нашим міжнародним
But
партнерам
meanwhile, I once again
і
express appreciation to
підкреслити
our
ще,
international
що це
partners,
дійсно ті
and I
потрібні практичні
emphasize
речі,
that
які
these are much
в
needed
регіоні
practical
працюють.
things
Дякую.
that currently are
Спасибі,
functional in
пане
the region.
Сергію.
Thank you so much.
Пані
Thank you,
Наталя,
Mr. Sergey.
просто вам
Miss
як
Natalia,
Житомирщині з Рівненщини
you
Бог
represent
даний
so
вас. Ну, от
now
пан Сергій
Zhytomyr
так і
region
сказав,
and
вам
Rivne
передати
region
естафету.
gives this
Поясніть,
ball to
будь
you.
ласка, які ви для себе от просто з досвіду
So,
Рівненщини
based
зробили
on Rivne
наслідки?
region, what are
Що
some of
подобається,
your
що ні, що треба
consequences? What
коригувати,
do you
і
like?
як
What
ви
needs to
будете
be taken
рухатися?
into
От в
account? What
зв'язку
are
з
some of your
тим
takeaways?
алгоритмом, про
And what
який
are you
писали
going to
ваші
do?
колеги.
Your colleagues mentioned an
Ваші перші кроки.
algorithm.
Ми зараз будемо
What would be your
обмінюватися
first step?
досвідом. Ми
Now we will
довжимо,
have a session
почуємо
for
про те, як
experience
їх треба
sessions.
діяти.
We will
Але
learn
от
a lot
ваші
about what
відчуття
to do,
просто
but
зараз
could you please
представте.
share some of your initial
Ну,
impressions?
ми програму Mental Health
асоційованою то
Well,
як?
Let, let me start with how a new program initiated by the First Lady, Ms. Elena Zelenska. We have implemented it for quite a long time, and we perfectly understand that no program, no initiative, no draft law can be implemented unless people want it, or unless people understand why do they need it. So we always need to start with the people. And here I'm sincerely grateful to our Rivne colleagues for his recommendations to select communities who are actually willing. But right now in this hall, we have many people from Zhytomyr region, and it's their own volunteer initiative to attend this forum, because I believe that the only thing important for implementation of this program is to inspire people. We have inspired people, and today I truly believe that out of 66 communities in Zhytomyr region, absolute majority has a perfect understanding of how important it is. So you need to start every project with people. You need community leaders, like-minded people who understand the idea about it. It's not about equipment, offices or resources. It can be done, but you need to be willing to do it. So we're looking for initiative
Давайте все ж
communities.
таки розбиратися по кроках. Пане
But
Руслан,
let's move step
коли
by
ви
step.
займалися власне
Mr.
створенням
Ruslan,
центру як міський
you
голова?
were responsible
Пане
for creation
Романе,
of the
ви
centers as a
керуєте
mayor.
центром такої
Mr. Roman,
підтримки.
you are
Пане
running the
Микола,
support
ви, я знаю,
center.
взагалі створили
Mr. Mikola,
посібник.
as long as I know, you developed
Правильно,
a
щодо
special
впровадження
guideline
допомоги.
on
Давайте спробуємо
implementation of aid
розібратися.
services.
Пане
So
Руслан,
let's try to
спочатку ви,
sort
можливо,
it out.
перші кроки.
Mr. Ruslan,
Ті, хто
tell
хотів,
us about
чи ви
your
якось
first steps.
діагностували
How did
спроможності,
you assess the
потреби,
needs, the
завдання?
capacities
Давайте
and the
будемо
objectives?
малювати цю схемку,
Let's
озвучувати
try to draw this
алгоритм
chart
створення
to
таких
compose this
центрів
algorithm for creation and
психосоціальної допомоги. Будь
implementations
ласка.
of these
Дякую.
MHPSS centers.
Всім доброго дня.
Thank you so much.
Звісно,
Hello,
що
everyone.
від ідеї і бажання до
Of course,
реалізації проходить
the
досить такий
path
тривалий
from mere
час.
idea to actual
І, звісно, що
implementation
дуже
is
важливо,
quite a
щоб
long
всі
journey.
причетні до
And it's very
даного
important to make
проєкту,
sure
всі
that all people engaged
сторони,
in
всі
this
особи
project, all parties,
були
all
не лише
stakeholders
зацікавлені,
are not just
максимум
interested and
зусиль, щоб
excited,
цей проєкт
but
якомога
willing to
швидше
pay their
реалізувався.
efforts for rapid
В нашому
implementation of this
випадку,
project.
завдяки
In our
такій спільній
case,
позиції і
thanks to
обласній
our
військовій
common position,
адміністрації, і нашим
thanks to the
польським
common
друзям і
commitment
партнерам,
of the
і
regional
тим
administration,
фахівцям,
our
які є в
Polish
нашій
partners
громаді,
and
нам це
friends,
вдалося
as well as
зробити досить
professionals
швидко,
available in our communities,
адже,
we
як
have been
сказав
we were
один
successful
перший
in
заступник
implementing
військової
it really
адміністрації, від
quickly because,
перших нарад,
according
які
to Mr.
відбулись у
First
березні
Deputy,
23 року,
the first meeting
пройшло
started in
небагато
March
часу, і в червні
2023, and very
2023
soon,
року ми вже
in June
де-факто прийняли
2023,
рішення
we
сесії
de facto
Сарненської
made a
міської ради,
decision
яке
on
утворити
Sarny
окрему
Municipal
підкреслю
Council
юридичну
to
особу,
create a separate
комунальний
legal
заклад, центр
entity,
психосоціальної
a community
підтримки.
institution,
Чому було важливо
resilience
утворити
center.
окрему особу? Адже у нас в
Why we
громаді
need a separate legal entity?
відповідно
Well,
функціонує
in
центр
our
соціальної
community,
допомоги.
we have a social support
Всі пам'ятають ці
center.
територіальні центри соціальної
Everyone
допомоги,
remembers
які
these
існували в
territorial
районах,
social
великих
support
центрах, і
centers
по
existing
завершенню
in
процесу
district
децентралізації,
capitals.
відповідно, вони були
And
передані
after decentralization
відповідні
project
повноваження
completed,
у громади,
their
деякі
powers
громади
were
їх
transferred to
ліквідували, ми їх
communities.
залишили.
Some communities eliminated them.
Сарни
We
були
decided to
районним
keep
центром
them
і до завершення
because
процесу
we
децентралізації. Після укрупнення
used to be a
районів ми
district
зрозуміли, що
capital
цьому
even before decentralization, and
є
after
необхідність, і
decentralization, we felt a need
це
for it
одинокі люди похилого віку,
because we have a lot
які
of
є в складних
lonely
життєвих
elderly
обставинах,
people,
які
people
потребують
struggling with
допомоги.
challenging life
Але ми
circumstances who are in
вирішили,
need of support.
що новий центр, саме
But we
психосоціальної
decided that a new
допомоги, підтримки саме
psychosocial support
ветеранів,
center
їхніх сімей
is
має бути
needed
окрема
for
юридична
veterans and
особа, і
family
для того,
members. It
щоб
must be a separate legal
їхні
entity,
функції не
so we
пересікались.
don't
Це
mix these
окремий великий
functions
напрямок
and avoid
роботи,
overlaps. It's a
яким
separate,
потрібно
very
займатись
important
і
area of
не
work. It's something
розгалужувати
that
свою
needs to
увагу,
be done.
скажімо, на
We
інші,
must
теж не
not
менш
disperse
важливі
our
категорії,
attention. We must be
категорії населення чи
concentrated.
мешканців нашої громади.
All,
Сьогодні також
so
реалізується
today,
проєкт з
we are also
ініціативи першої
implementing
леді,
another
так звані
project
центри
implemented by
життєстійкості. У
the
нас
First Lady,
теж уже
the
функціонує
resilience
на
centers,
базі
which already operate in
організованого
our
Глорія.
city
Це така
and are
структура,
supported
яка
by
більше
Gloria
20
Charity
років
Foundation. This is
займається
a structure
благодійною
that has been
допомогою
dealing
в
with
нашому
charity
поліському
assistance
регіоні,
in
відомому
our
як
policy
поза
region
межами.
for over 20
Але
years.
повернусь до
It's well
нашого
known in the
центру. В
country, but
нашому
let me get back
центрі
to our center.
працюють психологи,
At
звісно.
our center, we employ
Сьогодні звучало,
psychologists.
що нам вдалося знову ж таки віднайти
Today,
спеціаліста,
it was me.
лікаря-психіатра.
Now today I'm proud to
Адже
say that
нікому не
we have
секрет,
finally
що
hired a
фахівців
psychiatrist
саме даної
because,
галузі
as you know,
чимало, і ми
The professionals in this area are quite rare. Therefore, we have to employ people from other regions, invite them to our district capital, to our community to provide the support. The center is led by a professional psychologist, Oksana Skolovets, who has sufficient experience and expertise, both managerial and practical. She perfectly knows how to communicate with various populations. The institution is located in the downtown of the city. Partially it uses an old abandoned building, and with the support of other Polish friends, we repaired it. We have received vehicles. We have supplied necessary equipment. So basically, we created a comfortable space where you feel good when you stay there and where you can get access to highly qualified support services delivered by professionals. The center has several activities. It's psychological support, psychiatric care, so psychological support, psychiatric care, I'm sorry. We also have a physical rehabilitation specialist. It's another component, and I think it's in the most demand among veterans because this professional daily receives many veterans injured on the battlefield and provides various types of assistance. The centers use various innovative therapeutic practices. Let's be honest. Until the start of the full-scale invasion, we didn't know much things about clay therapy, art therapy, music therapy, canning therapy, osteopathy, and many other things and strange words and definitions people who have been never in contact with the system have never heard of. I'm a city mayor, and now me and my team are trying to educate ourselves in this area to learn more about various methods. So we can carefully assess performance of our centers and understand the content of meaning of services offered to our veterans. So today, over 300 veterans have already received support at our centers, and dozens of veteran families are still working with us, but we have a lot of work to do because in our community only there are around 300 residents who are in active deployment. We have 141 killed in action, people kept in prison, and we have people who abandon the ranks of armed forces. We want to work with them as well, open them a route to return to the military service. I mean, deserters. We want to bring them to the military units where they continue the service. This is a global problem for the country. There is no official statistics, but we talk about dozens of thousands of people, and we need to work with them. We work with them psychologically in order to reintegrate them in normal life instead of hiding at home. So it's a separate objective for us. It's a very important objective for psychosocial support centers, our resilience centers. We need to work with this population as well. Many people talk about this population, but most in other context. So, by the way, we will have a separate discussion on veterans and veteran work. I think as part of that panel, we will continue this topic. But now, when we talk about creation of centers and provision of support services, as long as I understand, we have a real problem with professionals to deliver services. Now, I have an important question. How will your community be able to sustain the centers after donors exit? And I have another third question for you. To much extent, the communities were open. not just communities, but also individual citizens. So how open they were to receive this kind of support? Right now, we're playing with this definition about trauma-informed society, but could you please tell us about practical dimension of stigmatization? Were people open to receive this support? How conscious and aware they were? Let's talk about it. Let's start with you, Mr. Roman, Mr. Ruslan, Mr. Roman, and then Mr.
Був
Mikola.
величезний запит на цю допомогу.
So
Це
there is a
відчувалося,
great
тобто,
need for such
це
support
відчуття,
in
воно
society, and you
було
can
в
actually
повітрі,
feel it.
і потрібно
It's
було
something which you can feel in the air.
зробити, ну, можливо, скажімо так, нам всім спільно цю справу
And
ще раніше,
probably we should have started doing it much earlier, because no, 15 million people affected by the war. I think all people living in our country right now, including even those who evacuated abroad, are also considered victims of war. Therefore, this help is much needed.
скажімо так, не шкодуємо матеріального ресурсу,
We,
якого, на жаль,
we
громада
don't spare
останнім часом
material
все менше і
resource.
менше, повноважень
Of course,
все більше
the
і більше.
communities have
Навіть
less and
на
less powers,
2025 рік
but
ми
even
в
for the year
програмі
2025,
розвитку, скажімо,
in
соціального розвитку і
our
бюджетному
social and
25 рік ми
economic development
закладаємо
program, we
зрозумілі
have
видатки на утримання центру і
allocated some
закладаємо
expenses to
видатки на
sustain the
розвиток
center in our
центру.
state
Тобто на
budget, and we
створення
also have a
додаткових
budget line for
просторів
development of
для
the
надання
center
додаткових
to
послуг.
create
Ті
extra
самі
spaces
правової
and provide
допомоги,
extra
про
services
що
such as
говорила
legal
пані
assistance.
Ірина,
That's
про
actually what
віддалений
mentioned
робочий
by Ms.
місця. Ми
Irina.
над цим вже
We're
працюємо і
creating
розуміємо,
remote
що це
workplaces,
має бути.
we're
Тому
working on it,
ми,
and we
попри
know how it's
ці
supposed to work.
складнощі
So,
фінансові, які
despite
мають
all
громади
financial
сьогодні,
challenges
ми
and
розуміємо, що
struggles the
це є головним
communities are facing
пріоритетом.
today, we
Адже
understand that
тимчасове
it's one of
гальство,
our top
стійка громада,
priorities
сильна економіка,
because, sustainable
це
communities,
може бути
strong
можливим
economy,
лише після того,
it's
коли
it's
умовно
something
ці
that
3
may
тисячі
happen
військових,
only after the
які є з
300
нашої
military
громади в собі
servicemen
Збройних силах
living in
України
our
також
communities
повернуться
and serving in the
рівними,
armed forces
живими,
Ukraine
як
right now
максимум здоровими,
come
а
back
то
alive,
поновляться
at
соціальні,
least
а
alive, but
поновлюються
preferably alive
економічні,
and healthy,
повернуться до
after they
праці,
reintegrate in
почнуть
social and economic
сплачувати
life,
відповідно знову ж
resume
таки
their
податки в
employment,
нашу
and start
громаду.
paying
Нам
taxes into our
потрібно їм у цьому
communities.
допомогти. Тому
We will be
прийняття
able to achieve
діяльності
more, but we
центру
will need to
це
support them in this area.
надважливий для нас.
So these centers are one of our top priorities. And Mr. Roman, please, could you please answer these questions as well?
Дякую, пані Анно.
Thank you so much, Ms. Anna. Thank you, everyone. I'm really happy to be present today in this hall. And now I will tell you a little bit about MHPSS support, MHPSS centers in the Rivne region. Today, I represent not just Varna Center, but all 4 of them. I mean, all 4 centers created back in 2023 in Rivne region. Probably I will start with a statement that at the regional level until 2023, there had been no centers like this, and the psychological services were provided by social institutions if they had psychologists on their staffing list. But when the war started, we developed a consistent understanding that it's not enough, and we need to create institutions specializing primarily on mental health aid. You remember back then there was a Directive 1339, and subject to this directive, and with the support of the International Solidarity Fund, we managed to open these 4 centers. We created multidisciplinary team, we equipped our spaces. We started to work in summer 2023. We started with training, for which we're highly grateful to the fund because they trained managers, they trained teams selected, recruited by managers, they did interviews, they participated in supervisions. It was utmost important for our start. I remember how me and my team of psychologists worked during the very first day in a 15 square meter office.
And we planned the idea how the center looks like. This was all turned into paper. Over the short time before September, we had the center that we have seen, and the office for individual work, and the group work, administrative office, where we could get involved in the administrative work. With the fund, we received the vehicle, which made it possible to transfer service beyond the center. and beyond the city, and even beyond the community where the center was created. This was a great reinforcement for us, and we began, first of all, from communications, and we communicated with communities. I believe that the decision and the recommendation of the fund to create the Center of Psychosocial Support on the municipal ownership form was great and appropriate, because this helped to demonstrate stability, sustainability, and the guarantor of that were the communities, the founders of the municipal institutions. It's not really important whether it's a separate municipal institution, like in Sarne, or maybe a center of social services, like in Vladimir, which is the Varash Center of Social Support. It's important that this is a municipal institution, and the community participates in its creation, its development, and support. In the end, of the support of the foundation, as it was discussed today more than once.
Так, це нам передали портуправління. Ви зможете показати.
Так,
Клас.
And also demonstrate. Those are the centers in line with 4 districts which have been established in Rivne Oblast. Yes, the interaction is not just limited to the interaction with communities.
Насправді це має бути багатороння
Actually, it must be a multilateral
Пане Романе,
cooperation.
можу вас просити мікрофончик трошки ближче до себе. На себе його спрямовуйте. Будь ласка, дякую.
багатостороння співпраця.
Multilateral cooperation.
Центри з'явилися.
When the centers have created, actually social institutions felt the difference. They began to refer the clients who require psychological services to such centers, including medical institutions, cooperation with them, the Kleven Base Hospital for the veterans. I would like to thank Mr. Barachik and the employees of the hospital. Also, the Bureau for the Free Legal Aid, more than once, we discussed the legal service within the activity of the center. The lawyers of free legal support actively cooperate with us as the Varash-based center and other centers. They provided advice to our clients, they redirect, they refer their clients to us, and we recommend the Bureau to those who refer for social support, for the mental health support. Quite many clients, in the very beginning at least, went to the center for the psychological support, and yet the first thing they asked how to solve particular legal matter, how to solve particular social matter. And when we could redirect and involve the additional specialists, then the door were open to our psychologists. The contact was found, and we could effectively provide our main psychological service. Also, it's not possible for the centers to operate with no support of the recruitment centers, military units. We cooperate with military servicemen who come for rotation, provide services to the servicemen who come to rotation and who, due to their physical condition, cannot be on the front line and continue the service behind the front line. And we cooperate, provide service to them, and we understand that this work is really needed for the military units.
Наскільки у нас карта була достатньо така виразна і зрозуміла на екранчику. Наскільки співпрацюють між собою
To what
центри?
extent the centers cooperate?
Усвідомлення. Ви покриваєте всю Рівненщину?
Do you cover the entire Rivne Oblast? The centers have been created in the format of district ones, and of course we began and we tried to cover the maximum territory. Yet it was obvious that implementing that by a single multidisciplinary team efficiently, in an efficient manner, was not possible because the districts have been quite large. Of course, we could try to do our best, could fragment, and yet there won't be any efficiency. We signed the memos with every community of the district, And those communities who have manifested most interest and wanted to cooperate with us, we also cooperated with them. For example, we worked in Volodymyrets, where the center is, yet we went to Varash city, which is neighboring community, and there was an office where the psychologists have received the clients and have worked there. It was a very fruitful cooperation. Based on it, we have built a good friendly relations with the Center of Mental Health, which was created on the Varash Hospital. Yet additionally, I would like to say about another thing, the specificity which each of the centers had of Rivne Oblast. Actually, plus minus one project in each, and we passed the relevant stages. In 2024, we have changed sufficiently in order to demonstrate uniqueness. Some people operated as resilient centers like Varash, Zdolbunyev, and Rivne Center. Some of them have cooperated within the project of the Ministry of Veterans, like Dubny Center. The others opened up physical rehabilitation. Sarny was first joined with our Varash Center of Psychosocial support, Psychosocial support, MHPSS. This was not taken from the air. It was based on the experience with clients who have referred to our center. Based on their request, we have developed the specializations. So this is a specificity in every district and every community, and this is what made the changes necessary. Yes, indeed. Moreover, when we opened the space for physical rehabilitation with a micro grant of the Solidarity Foundation, we bought the equipment and we trained the trainer, and now the space works because we understand that people are wounded by the war, physically injured. They underwent treatment in the hospitals, returned back to village, a small village for 1,000 people. Could they efficiently take care of their health unless they have the skills? Probably not. Now we have trainer, the space for physical rehabilitation. They can refer, and especially if it helps them to maintain their health. We provided a set of physical exercise. Refer to other institutions. We opened such spaces in the Sarny, Varash, centers of psychosocial support. Other specializations have been important. In Zdolbunyev, legal aid. They found a good lawyer who helps to solve a particular legal matter, after which the psychologists can participate in Dubne. There's professional orientation program. Generally, I believe that effective reintegration of veterans is not possible until they are unemployed, because it's impossible. And people who have a job, they return, and they cannot fulfill the tasks physically or mentally. They might lose their job because the employer is not available, the job is not there. They need to be flexible. With professional orientation work provided by Dubna-based Center of Psychosocial Support, our veterans obtain flexibility and find their place in the society. Again, we speak about liaison with employment centers, the Bureau of Free Legal Aid, the cooperation with hospitals and medical institutions, if we speak of medical rehabilitation. Our trainers involve, if necessary, the doctors of the local hospital. Therefore, that's powerful, and all those services have reinforced ourselves, and yet the main our effort and the main capacity, as I'm convinced, other people. Back in 2023, the Foundation for International Solidarity was able to do the main thing, to bring together the good team of cool people. Each of them was a nice specialist. Each of them had a skill to listen, to give advice, to seek advice, to hear. They can choose the team and the people. As a team have also demonstrated stability. We all in that place, all for managers who started 2023, all of them are still there, and each of them do their job. I remember another moment when with a psychologist we just began the work, and we provided events and training and provided individual consultations. They have been afraid, actually, because today we discuss the rule of the psychologists don't not to cause harm, they were afraid to cause harm, to do things wrong, that they lack experience, that they lack skills and knowledge. The foundation helped a lot. Creating such centers opened the doors to specialists of psychosocial centers, enabled them to study the programs, to gain experience, new methodologies, and implement them. They have been afraid. And yet 1 year passed, slightly more, and they're not afraid anymore. They have the skill, they know how to do it, they do it, they succeed, and mostly important, now they teach the others, they disseminate this among the other specialists within the community, within the district, within the oblast, and now even in the neighboring Zhytomyr Oblast. I believe that in the year 2023, the foundation launched a chain reaction, which lasts till today. And nowadays, this is one of the links of the chain reaction, and I'm confident that the reaction will continue successfully, because there is a real need to do so. Thank you very much indeed.
Прошу, колеги. Давайте продовжимо ланцюгову реакцію.
Shall we continue this chain reaction within the discussion panel? Mikola, I would like to involve you. All of the questions remain the same. First, let me ask you what you have been afraid of when this just began. I was afraid of psychiatrists and psychologists. I'm afraid of psychiatrists. When I went to Sarny and met a psychiatrist for 2 nights, I had the dreams of the wards where I am inside with a hat on my head, and all the jokes which I knew passed through my head. Therefore, when they speak of stigmatization, this is truth. No, I don't mean that the people who believed and responded and went there during this year.
Давайте спробуємо ще раз, перевіримо мікрофончик.
Все те, що пан Роман сказав,
What Roman
ну,
said
це
before
чиста правда. Ми ж одне з
is
перших
truth,
погонів бігали, щоб
because we were just chasing after each other, that people don't run away or they don't cry, that they have to do something to someone. And yet, before I continue answering the question and make my reflection of what we have here, because it really resonates, that it means we are on the same wave.
щоб ми всі привітали пана Романа, який в свій день народження
I would
приїхав
like to
сюди
welcome
до нас,
Roman,
щоб
who
нам
on his
сказати.
birthday came to us in order to discuss with us. Congratulations.
І це правда. Люди в цьому
And this is true.
проекті, це
People in
те,
this
що
project,
створило цей проект.
this is what helped to create this project. I design every word, as Roman has discussed before, a good message from Sergei for Natalia, for Zhytomyr, and friendly team of Zhytomyr Oblast, which have declared themselves. They made a picture with a portrait of a resilient community. We could recognize them. I have been in quite many projects and took part in them, and yet that to such an extent there is active participation. Irina has 1 million plus projects. She finds time for everyone. She makes speeches and so on. The same true for coordination centers. If necessary, she finds time for that. A leader of the fund. We saw many leaders of the fund who know a lot about the project. The mayors, they still know, they now know the words that others don't.
Тому справді люди творять дива.
Indeed, people make miracles. And this is a basic miracle. The basic things have been created which really work. Therefore, Pavel and Tatiana Sirik and Oksana Petrucha,
І Світланка, і Вікторія,
and also Victoria,
психолог,
our psychologist,
якого я боюсь.
whom I am afraid of.
Це ті люди, які закрутили те, що от
Those people have created what works now.
пані Оксана, пані Оля, пані Роман,
Therefore, Oksana and Oля
Людмила,
and Ludmila,
які очолюють 4 центра,
which is a leader of 4 centers, are actually saying that even during the project activity, when they had good conditions, and after the project activity, when they had saying that, well, we have the personnel schedule, and we understand that they cannot budget what they want. They need to budget it like for the structural division, which operates. And they need to follow the terms and conditions. It's good when it is possible to, within the expert services,
дуже правильно було елемент
and yet it was the right thing. The element of democracy, which was in the very beginning, I had a presentation about it. When in the very beginning, that element of democracy was manifested. By the way, you can see all those pictures in the room, in the hall, with a bigger size, everybody's nice there. You can see how people from different communities have been coming, and while being the competitors to each other, jointly we're doing the advantages, creating the advantages of why the center was there. Чумоваровський це center in Volodymyr, not Varash, Rivne center in Stolbunів, not Rivne, because that community, on some pictures there are people, because the topic of the intermunicipal cooperation, the people from Dubne Radivilo community whom we did not know that there is second microgrant for support of intermunicipal cooperation, which will make it possible to return. That those good relations which were embedded in the very beginning have caused that this has manifested as quickly as they established cooperation. Because Anna asked how the centers cooperate. Actually, they had close contacts to the extent possible, and also they have involved those who did not become the centers, and yet who have created those smaller divisions. Yet the beginning was right, as the district working groups have developed a joint vision of where to create in the more useful way. Why there? What are the logistical advantages? What is the human potential? Because we understand quite well, finding the psychologist or psychiatrist who will not run away after they get trained, and will be ready to work for the same for that salary, and everything invested will cause multiplication tomorrow in favor of both the community and their district and the region. I am the great proponent of such things. I've read of Taj Mahal, I cried of it also. It's a dramatic story. And then I said, well, so many people have been doing that Taj Mahal. So many people have died on the pyramids. And yet we are amazed of it. This is what we need to be amazed about, that people in small communities can provide the benefits for those who are next to them. You understand what does it mean to provide psychological support, conventionally speaking, to some friend of somebody's friend or somebody's relative. This is like for the policeman to come and find his neighbor. It comes from the same basis. And here you need to make poker face and invite people. Rivne Santa, I talk to them, I talk to fish. I know how to talk to fish now. And they have the bubbles and they have the fish. Whatever it takes people to calm down. Unless the psychiatrist come, I sit there. This is to relax in good premises, to have green tea, to talk to the fish. They are good interlocutors. And one can feel as though the programs self-care. Sometimes it's not necessary to have a specialist from outside, just sufficient to find resources. Why Rivne, representatives of the Embassy of Poland and US, Rivne and Zhytomyr, both. This is about the marketing of the territories and also branding of territories. And also the statement by Rivne, maybe it's not visible there, you could believe me, the numbers of how much inter-municipal contracts of cooperation have been signed as of April 2024, and 59 for Rivne, for Ukraine. During the last 3 years, it was top 5 on Ukraine. And it means that the contact between the communities is there. And when we speak of such a special service as ours, it is also there. Dubne and Radiviliv, the first contact that we had after the main first project where they created the centers. The idea which was included, if those people have cooperated during the meeting of their working groups of the district, why cannot they do the same as they provide services? They began to look for partners, Dubno. We have visited those whom we sat at the table with. It was wonderful. Deputy mayor was there, the administrator as well, and our Dubny economics represented by Miroslava. So they found each other. This is the condition, this is the status we had before. Before the small microgrant, without it, this would not happen. Vasil Antoniuk, Mykola Karapetyan, the mayors of the communities have signed, and they shook their hands, and the premises that we have under such conditions, because it's about stigma, not in the white robes, not in the medical premises. It's actually in such circumstances for the discussion that can be attended. And also during the months which passed, the individual consultations and group consultations will not discuss the numbers. It's in the report, yet in the reports it works well, because they have been quite basic and they were quite understandable, because I agree with Taras Tarasenko, who said that all this must be merged and revised, that one service in one place is provided, because honestly speaking, in those experiments that have followed for each of the centers, we need to hire people who are called specialists to formulate the reports, and they're writing every day and every night. Such things actually dilute that small moment related to the sustainability of state programs. What's the pleasure of participating in the project thing? Because one can try everything. If you would like the legal service, you can do it. Professional station service, you can try it. And then we would like to have a transition as simple as possible to government support. When it works, and then the government just supports. Not just regrouping that you put your leg on the neck and do the same as yesterday, but 3 times more and with more papers. We understand what is a government machine, and this is how we come together. Why do we come together? That we can tell each other such things, and this is actually the source of it. We can just take something and simply recognize that it's in place, and you move forward with that. I'm confident that there are such examples, the same as this project, also in other sectors. In Zdolbuniv and Mizach, Zdolbuniv community, Mizach was not. Mizach, former Zdolbuniv district, is next to it. Secondly, the contract was signed on intermunicipal cooperation on providing services by territorial center for social services for 3 communities. And another format of cooperation was pending to expand the service which was included, and also to add psychosocial service. This is a status, as a condition of one of the premises in Mizach, Mizach is a small community, 12,000 of the population. Quite many smaller villages. The Mizach is 3,500 people. Of the output the next week was, as I'm convinced, as Ruslan said before, everything can be done with someone's resources. And yet the focus is, if it was possible to do with the help of the foundation, what to make with the help of the foundation. One can go there and also work with people.
Це не обов'язково має бути, знаєте, от ми в Києві зібралися,
We
Рівне і
came
Житомир.
together in Kyiv, Rivne and Zhytomyr come together in Kyiv. Why not in Mizach people cannot come together for neighboring villages and in the good conditions to communicate? The first visits of the center, which were made, tell of the huge demand, because there is 1,000 of the target audience of the family members and active military and those who are potentially veterans. It's about one's own resources. When we have shown the numbers that we have studied with the help of colleagues of the analytics is wonderful. Before taking decisions, please do it, even if it costs money. As a survey or opinion poll, I follow under every line item. Please remember the spring of 2022, you go to drugstore, as I say, there are no drugs for sedation, because people administer for themselves. This is a way of support. And this is also the same, people tell each other whether it's harm or maybe not harm, because in the beginning the girls have tried. In the beginning, and 1 year they all became confident. Even in the middle of the street, we can exchange the cases.
Дякую.
Перепрошую. Перепрошую, колеги, очевидно, це оголошення в
I beg your
готелі.
pardon. This is an announcement in the hotel. We can extinguish it, but we shall not focus our attention on it. They will just switch off the lights and that's it.
Можливістю зараз втручуся. В мене до вас є запитання. А як ви взагалі визначаєте ефективність?
How you determine the efficiency? Simply the indicators of the efficiency. I understand that there is a lot of memories, but how do you feel that these now the centers operate effectively or efficiently? This is the same as with any store. If people have a repeated visit, it means they trust. It's all about trust. Victoria will discuss the numbers because she collects the numbers, how many consultations, of which type, what was done. And yet the request from people, A, for additional services which are in place, B, open beehive with the people inside, people who are not afraid to come. Yet I'm the proponent that even we can go to people, reach them, outreach them. Last week, the colleagues came from PMCD also with terrible thing, their vaccinations, the vaccines. And they go to OMES efficiency, 90% of people have received. What if they would wait? There would be 10%. At the moment when such things are necessary, still it's necessary to look at stigmatization, and we need to go there where there is a potential person who would need it. And the variant of some numbers of the indicators that are quite numerous.
Повторне звернення – це, власне, головний
The
індикатор.
repeated calls, it's the main indicator. People believe and they pay the repeated visit.
Давайте все ж таки про Житомирщину. Продовжимо географічну подорож.
Let's talk about Zhytomyr region. Let us continue our geographical journey. So you've just learned a little bit about the experience of your colleagues. Now you're in a better position to assess promoter health performance and efficiency. How did it work in Rivne region? So please tell us what and how are you going to implement in Zhytomyr region, taking into account the narrative of your colleagues. So now it's our second panel discussion on mental health and resilience. Let me highlight that we are already implementing it, but you cannot have too much services. The more mental health services we offer, the better it's going to be. Because for Zhytomyr region is what's most important. We have one of the most militarized regions in Ukraine. We have so many casualties. We have so many people whose family members are in active deployment. So we want to scale up this service, and we're talking not just about some individual building or office. We want to really scale it up, really increase the coverage. For example, let's talk about families. Let's imagine that a veteran, a military serviceman, or his family members come to the resilience center. We need to talk to him. We need to explore his needs, assess the issues he's dealing with, and we need the service in place, not just to map the needs, but to have a better understanding of how we can support its family. And here, I think it's not just about social benefits. Resilience is something more. It's about addressing various needs and issues. For example, if your child struggles in school, you may need a school counselor, maybe you need medical care, maybe you need a doctor. For example, right now we actively cooperate with international communities and all ministries. We seek support for our veteran hospital project. It's a hospital where our veterans are undergoing treatment, and we wanted to provide this service as well. We want to make sure that veterans at every community have access not just to physical, but also to mental health treatment at this hospital. We have so many ideas. We know what are we going to do, and we definitely won't stop at this project. But thank you so much for choosing Zhytomyr as the next flagship region for this program. So my last question for you, dear colleagues. We are running out of time for the second panel, but we still have so much for you as part of this forum. So my last question. Tell me, please, I want to hear one association with the word resilience from each panelist. National resilience, community resilience, individual resilience. How would you translate it for yourself? How would you describe it? I'm not asking you for any professional or scientific definitions. It's something your personal. Mr. Mikola showed amazing pictures in his presentation. We actually have these pictures in the hall. You can approach them during the break. You can touch them. You can feel how this MHPSS centers as part of Pro Mental Health program work. We have a small photo exposition of our achievements. Maybe you will recognize yourself. I think we have some of these people from these pictures in this hall. Some of them are on the stage. So the exposition is available in our hall. So, resilience. Dear colleagues, what's your definition of resilience?
Життєстійкість це таке
Oh,
уособлене
I
поняття,
think
яке
resilience
характеризує
is an embodied
глобально весь наш
concept,
український народ.
the embodiment of
Чому?
our
Якщо ми
Ukrainian
так
nation.
спокійно відносимось до того, що має
Why?
вимкнути світло, як зауважив
Just
Микола,
take a look. We are so calm
ми
about upcoming
вже в
blackout.
певній мірі не
The
реагуємо
power
на
outage was just
сигнали
announced,
повітряної
but we don't
тривоги,
respond. We barely
розуміючи,
respond
що
to
летить,
a
куди
red
летить, з
alarm. We
якою
just check
швидкістю,
what's
траєкторією і
flying,
все
what's the
інше.
target, what's the threat speed, what's the trajectory, and we remain and we keep calm. Of course, so the people say it's better be safe than sorry, but Ukrainian society is so ready to face these challenges that we can share this experience with all the civilized world. Our friends, our partners are really interested to learn more about it. For example, last year we signed a memorandum of understanding with a German community near Köln. And in December this year, I'm traveling to Neapel to sign a partnership agreement with another community in Neapel suburbs. We have, of course, our Polish partners, other partners, and most often they ask us a question, how do you compass all these challenges? And so sometimes I respond seriously, sometimes I respond jokingly. I just tell them an ancient joke. Oh, why are you so calm? How do I say that I have been never nervous? It's a challenge It's
які
a
ми маємо
challenge that
подолати
God
заради
sent to
захисту
us, and we
нашої
must
держави,
cope with this challenge
наших
to
земель,
defend our
нашої
homeland,
землі та й всього
to
цивілізованого
defend our
світу.
families.
Тому життєстійкість це, мабуть, вже є
So
частина
the
генетичного
resilience
коду
is
українців,
now in the Ukrainian
яка якраз
DNA.
проявляється від того, що ми не боїмось психіатрів,
It means that we're
і
not
до
afraid of
того, що ми
psychiatrists.
готові
It
боротися
means that we are ready
за
to
все
fight
українське, за нашу культуру,
for
за нашу
everything Ukrainian,
історію.
for Ukrainian culture,
І
Ukrainian history.
Центр насправді психосоціальної
And
підтримки,
MHP's Center
реабілітації,
and
він
Rehab
потрібен лише
Center
для того, щоб
needed
фахівці могли ці речі, про які ми з вами говоримо,
to make sure
проговорити в
that
тому колі. Це у
competent
нас називається рівне коло,
professionals
здається, да? Рівне рівному
can
той принцип. І він пішов
can
в
work
люди, він
based on
пішов в маси,
peer-to-peer
він пішов в
principles and
суспільство.
disseminate
Тобто,
this idea
щоб ті
amidst our
самі військові
people,
або
to
ветерани
spread this idea in
члени
society,
родин
so so
почали
military
теж ці
veterans,
процеси
family members
сприймати як
also
ну,
perceive this
вибачте, можливо, певну
process
буденність, як норму
as something routine,
поведінки чи
as
спілкування,
some normal
подолання
behavior.
цих викликів
We need to
і
overcome this challenge,
адаптації їхньої суспільстві. Тобто це
and we need to help these people to reintegrate into the
зрозуміло,
society.
є складова індивідуальної роботи, але
Of
є
course, it
і
requires
складова
some
такої
one-to-one
загальної
work, but
публічної
there is
економічної
also a
діяльності,
general collective public
яка потрібна
framework,
для всього суспільства.
which is needed by the
Саме в
entire
ньому
society in
народжується ця
general.
життєстійкість, яка є
That's
у нас
how
вже
this
в Україні.
resilience is
Дякую.
born. Thank you.
Наталя, будь ласка, вас
Thank you,
прошу
Miss Natalia.
приєднатися.
Please, the
Я
word is the
погоджуюсь
floor is yours.
абсолютно з усіма сьогоднішніми
I
висловами,
actually
але
agree with
особисто
everything
для
said
себе я
today, but for me
весь цей час думала,
personally,
що б я сказала, що для мене
well,
може
I've
бути,
been
щоб розвивати
thinking
мою
about
стійкість.
it.
А
What
мою
does
стійкість
resilience
саме
mean for
виключно те,
me?
що я не сама.
How do
Точно
I
знаю, що
develop
я
my
сама. Я
resilience?
точно знаю,
Well,
що в
I
мене
know
є
that I'm
сім'я. Я
not
точно
alone.
знаю,
I
що
know that I have
спільно
my
подолаємо
team, I have
важчі
my
труднощі.
family,
Але я
and I know
впевнена,
that
що один
together we
сильний
will
воїн,
prevail over
і
everything. You
людина не
cannot
може
win the
триматися за
battle
землю,
alone,
вона повинна триматися
and
за
you
інших.
cannot
І чим
hold on
більше таких
air.
людей,
You
які
need you
формують
need to
спільноту,
hold on
тим
other
краще
people.
ми
And the
вистоїмо.
more people we have in
Потім
our
маю зробити
communities,
розумне
in a
обличчя
better
і сказати,
position
що
we
це
are to withstand.
підтверджують останні
And
заведені
actually now I
нами
will make a smart
дослідження.
face and
Якраз
say that
відчуття,
it's proved by the
відчуття
most recent all
єдності є
national surveys. The
запорукою
feeling of
стійкості.
unity
Це
is an
окрема велика
important
тема. Пане
prerequisite for
Микола, будь ласка.
resilience.
Чи
Mr.
є
Mikola,
можливість
please.
крайній слайд показати на
Can I show
презентації?
the last
Напевно,
slide of
нівелює
my presentation?
частина відповіді на
It
запитання.
actually perfectly illustrates
Дуже,
my personal
дуже хороше
definition of
запитання.
resilience. You asked very good
Справді
question,
особисто,
actually.
що таке
Now I've just
стійкість?
started to think
Для себе
what's resilience
для
is.
себе особисто,
For me
знаєте,
personally,
формулюється так: вміння
I defined it in the
впоратися з
following way.
викликами
It's your ability to cope with
самостійно
challenges on your own
або з допомогою,
or with the help
це
of
можна було визнати,
other people
тобто не
and
зламатися,
admit
що
that
не
you need
йду,
help.
не
Be
роблю, не
unbreakable.
буду, а
Not to
зробити
say
це.
I will do it
Щодо
instead of I cannot do it. I will go there
теми
instead of
нашої
I cannot
розмови,
go.
то стійкість це в
And as
тому
for topic
числі,
of our discussion,
бачите,
I
візит
understand
пані
resilience.
Жовнович
You see
в
the visit
Рівненський
of Ms.
районний
Zhivnovich
центр,
to
вміння
Rivne Regional Center.
допомогти
So
собі
define
і
resilience is ability
розказати
to
іншим,
help
як
yourself
це
and
зробити.
tell other
Чи
people
то
how to do it.
на національному телемарафоні, чи то
You can
через
do it on a
візит
TV
інших людей,
screen
від
through the
яких
national
залежить
TV
багато що
marathon. You
інше.
can,
Тому
or
це
it can be done through
можливість
decision of
впоратися, не
people
встояти,
with
допомогти
great
і
impact.
допомогти іншим.
So you need to cope yourself and help others to
Романе,
cope.
будь ласка, ви
And finally, Mr. Roman, you are to finish this discussion.
Нас завжди оточують речі, на які ми
Well,
можемо так чи інакше впливати.
it's
А є
we
речі,
always have things that are
які,
within
на
our
жаль,
control
володіють світом, нами, і
and
ми не
things that
можемо
seemingly
додати
dominate
жодних
over
зусиль,
us, over the
щоб їх
entire world,
змінити.
and then
Іноді
cannot
так
do
здається,
anything to
що ми
change
не
them.
можемо щось
Sometimes we
змінити. Коли
feel
починалася
helpless
війна,
to change
для
things.
величезної
When the
частини
war started,
світу здавалося,
many people
що
in the world
неможливо, щоб
felt
Україна
like
встояла.
Ukraine would never resist,
Здавали
Ukraine would
24
never
години,
survive.
48
They
годин.
thought it would be over in 24 hours, in
аби ми всі усвідомили, що ми стикаємося щодня.
Now you
Бачите,
all
нам
feel
повернули
what we do with
світло,
every
звук.
day. So the
Я вам
lights
скажу
and
більше,
sound
на
are
вас
on
чекає
again.
обід.
And
Зараз буде
now
купа приємних
there
новин,
is a lunch for
який
you. I have so many good
відбудеться
news for
на
you.
першому поверсі. Треба
You,
буде тільки
the lunch
піднятися, шановні
is
друзі.
at level
Ми
1, so
завершуємо
please
цю
go
дискусійну
upstairs.
панель.
Now we're
Я
about to
дуже дякую
finish
всім
this panel
учасникам.
discussion.
Можна я
I'm
ще раз
sincerely
вас
grateful
назву?
to all
Руслан
participants.
Серпенінов,
Ruslan
Сарненський міський
Serpeninov,
голова
Mayor of
Рівненської
Sarny,
області,
Rivne region.
Наталія Остапченко, перший
Natalia
заступник
Ostapchenko,
начальника
first deputy
Житомирської
head
ОВА,
of Zhytomyr Regional
Микола
Military
Орлов,
Administration,
начальник відділу
Mikola Arlov,
проєктної діяльності,
head
розвитку
of
та міжнародного
Project Activity
співробітництва
Development and International
Здолбунівської
Cooperation
міської ради,
Department at
і
Zdolbuniv
Роман
City
Швець,
Council,
керівник
and Roman
Варанського районного
Shvets,
центру
head of Varny
психосоціальної підтримки.
District
Шановні
MHPSS
друзі,
Center.
нагадаю вам ще
Dear
раз
friends,
про фотогалерею.
let me
Нагадаю,
remind
що
you
ми не
about
тільки
our photo
демонструємо
exhibition.
приклад стійкості,
We not
але
just
створюємо
demonstrate the
образ
example of
стійкої
resilience, but
громади.
we also
Будь
create the
ласка, ви
image of
замовили
resilient
нам банер, і я
community.
вас прошу не проходити повз, ось
So
нам
please
показують.
don't
Для
miss
всіх
our
можна
banner.
подивитися.
Please
Додайте, будь
approach
ласка,
and
свій
take a look.
опис, поділіться своїм
And you can
коментарем,
also
що ви
share
про
your
це думаєте.
feedback. What do you think
Зараз
about
на
it?
вас чекає обід. Ми
So now
піднімаємося
you're
на
about to have a lunch
перший
break.
поверх.
We will
І
go
о
upstairs to
15-й,
level 1.
секундочку, давайте я перевірю,
And
о
please,
14:00
sorry,
чи о 15-й, колеги, давайте. 14:00 ми продовжуємо
and
дискусію.
at 2 p.m. we will continue
Перепрошую,
our
обід
discussion.
на
Oh, I'm
другому
sorry.
поверсі.
I'm sorry, the lunch break is
Уточнили,
at
колеги,
level
другий
2.
поверх.
Just received updated information.